I'm about to spend a day with my mentor. You guys have learned from me. Now you get to see who I learned from. Joel Salatin, friend, an imaginary uncle. He's that food growing uncle I never had and wish I had, which that is what I am for you all. So it's a multi-generational thing here. We're just gonna keep the camera rolling. You guys are gonna get a bunch of JJ content today. Joel and Justin. What are you looking forward to about this, Austin?
Just hearing all the wisdom
Cameraman.
from the two Homestead kings themselves.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Good
You
morning.
remember Gideon and Henry?
Yes. Boy, little Henry, I don't think he was walking the last time I saw him.
Maybe not. It's been what, a
Good
year?
to see you,
Hey.
Justin.
Yeah, good to see you. And Austin?
Hi, Austin.
Good to see you.
Him. We brought him last time we came to your house.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We had stew together. You want me to
Good.
help you with that?
I'm good. Balanced like 2 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, you don't carry just one, right?
No, you don't carry one, you throw your back out.
We're not an ignorance back there.
Oh, you're fine.
You never know. You
Hi,
open this-
Henry. It's early, isn't it?
He wanted to come with us, so here he is.
Yeah, good. Where do you want me?
Get him up front passenger seat. Did you watch the NC State game, the boys? They haven't been in
No.
40 years.
Yeah, no. They don't have a Caitlin
Yes.
Clark.
Yeah, that's what you're about. Why do you like her so much?
Well, she's just a great gal. I mean,
Is
seems
she?
to have a wonderful grasp of life, personality, and she shoots these bombs, from
Yeah.
33 feet. Boom,
Really?
Yeah, and she's got every NCAA record in women's basketball there is: rebounds, points, 3-pointers, assists. I mean, she's just she's just incredible. And so, look, if it were just me,
Yeah.
I might not be quite as, but
Yeah.
I started hearing about her and told Teresa about it because Teresa's life is bound up in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And so we together on the computer we pulled up, YouTube, Caitlin Clark, and then Teresa got into it because it's like anything when you're like you always appreciate skill when
Yes.
you've tried it. Like
Yeah.
if you play the trumpet, you appreciate a good trumpet player.
Yeah.
If you play guitar, you appreciate a good guitar more than a
Yeah.
person who doesn't know anything about playing a guitar. I mean, I look at that and say, oh, that's pretty amazing. But I can't appreciate, the level of skill
Yeah.
because I've never tried to play the guitar. And so because Teresa is a great basketball player and knows what it takes, she has a depth of appreciation
Yeah.
for what Caitlin's doing that I don't. So anyway,
That's a good point.
It's just a fun thing.
Did she
this year.
win?
No, they lost. They
Oh.
lost the championship game to
What?
University of South Carolina, and it's a bummer. But
What?
the game Friday night. Yeah, Friday night was the semi. And that was a squeaker, and I watched that. That was over University of Connecticut, UConn,
Yeah.
and UConn's been there to this level like 13 times. And Iowa, this is only their second ever,
Nice.
and so they're definitely the underdog. And they won by 2 points. It was a clinker
Dang.
right to the end. It was a heartbeat, but. Yeah. Anyway, so I watched that game but yeah, I did some.
Did you watch that one at home?
Rested.
Did you watch that one at home, or did you get down here?
Friday
early?
night? No, I was here, and I got back to the room. It came on at 9:30, and so I got back to the room for the special dinner right at
Okay.
9:30. So I was able to watch it. So I was up a little later Friday
Yeah.
night, a little past my bedtime. I'm usually in bed by 9:30. But I wanted to watch it.
What time is your bedtime?
Oh, 9:30. Yeah.
What time's your wake up time?
I wake up with daylight. So
Yeah.
in the summer, I might get up at 5:30, 6 in the middle of the summer, and in the winter, 7.
You don't set an alarm.
I never set an alarm. I mean, unless I got to go to the airport at 4 o'clock. Then I set it.
How was your Uruguay? Was it Uruguay?
Uruguay.
We were on a webinar and you were going
That was
somewhere
fantastic.
Crazy the next day.
Yeah, Uruguay. I'll tell you what. I've never had steaks like Uruguay.
Oh.
Man, and I'm still trying to figure out why they're so
steaks,
good.
Huh?
They are better than any steak I've ever had anywhere in my life, and I had it twice. I had one dinner with the Uruguayan Secretary of Agriculture, and we had steak. And you know, Uruguay, the American per capita consumption of beef is about 52 pounds a year. Woo! That's American per capita consumption of beef.
American. Okay.
Uruguay is over 200 pounds. That means on average, the average adult Uruguayan is eating more than a pound of beef a day. On average.
Steer.
And And so, you know, so they had me down. This was their first. They build this as an ecological farming / business conference. It was the first time that they had. Uruguay has done a lot of conferences on beef management, beef production, but they said they've never linked something up with business, and so they asked me to come down and talk about business. And of course, I did the whole controlled grazing, and they don't do controlled grazing much either. They just, and so I'm driving through the countryside, and it's terrible. But boy, you talk about a grass paradise. A grass paradise. Listen to this. This country, it never gets over 85 degrees.
Wow.
It never gets below 30. They get 50 to 70 inches of rainfall a year, and there's no more than 1,000 feet of elevation difference in the entire country. Now, if that doesn't sound like grass paradise, I don't know what does. But they're just control. They just the cattle are out, and the pastures are short, grazed down to nothing. They're standing in the creeks. It was, and the cattle to me didn't look especially different or better or anything than anything I've seen here. So I'm sitting there thinking after the second steak that I had over with another, I said, what is it? What is it? And here's my conclusion. And I have no idea if this is correct or not. I may be completely off wall. But I want you to think about that for literally hundreds of years, Uruguay, as a culture, is a beef culture, a beef-loving culture.
Yeah.
So think about what the French have done, say, with wine.
Yeah.
Or Italy with Parmesan cheese, all right? Okay. Or pasta, okay?
Yeah.
And what you've got now is a multi-century legacy of beef selection. What tastes good? What cooks good? What's right? And so I think that they have literally, and of course, most of this was quite genetically. I mean, they would butcher one and then cook. They didn't have refrigerators. I mean, until recently, and so they had these alsado pits, where they would actually butcher it, and then they would cook it. My mentor, Alan Nation, founder of Slot Grass Farmer. One of my favorite stories from him. He was he loved trains. And so he rode trains all over the world, and especially steam trains. And I think by the time he died, he had ridden on every commercial steam engine train in the. Yeah, I don't like to stop on railroad tracks. Every single commercial steam engine train in the world. And so he told me about one time he's going through. I'm not sure whether it was Uruguay or Paraguay, and of course Uruguay hates to be confused with Paraguay. When I asked him before, I did. But when I before I went, I emailed my host. I said, so what are the major faux pas? I don't want to. I want to be culturally. I don't want to make a fool of myself or embarrass myself. So what? And the number one was confusing us with Paraguay.
Yeah,
That's
don't
the
do
number
that.
one. You know, it's like Australia and New Zealand. You know,
Yeah.
Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And Virginia, West Virginia,
South Carolina, North Carolina.
No, South Carolina,
Don't confuse me
yeah.
with South Carolina.
yeah. So anyway, he's on this steam train, and there was something with the rail, and it jumped a rail and derailed. Didn't crash or fall over, it just jumped a rail. Well, you know, you can't just set a steam engine train back on the track. And, it hit a cow. That's why it derailed. It hit a cow on the track, and derailed. So within 5 minutes, he said, people just emerged, and they butchered the cow, set up an alsado pit, cooked it, while other people came with, you know, levers and bars and blocks, and in about 4 hours, they had the train back on the track, which was about the time the meat was done, and they all sat and ate the cow the train killed, and then all got back on the train and went on. And what I'm getting at is, when you're that close from eating to seeing the animal, or knowing its genetics, you know, the grandmother and the grandfather, all this, you can very quickly say, wow, this one's a good one, that one's not a good one, this is a good one. And so they've got centuries of genetic selection for palatability, you know, delectableness. And I think that they have just selected and selected and selected over time to where it's just, I mean, it was just, I mean, I would go back tomorrow to get that steak. I mean, that's how good it was.
So it's not a matter of preparation. I can't just
talk
to Google and say, how do I cook like a steak
like a Uruguayan? Yeah.
Can't do that.
No,
you have to go there and have that
I think you kind of have to
go
there to get it.
I have to put that country on my bucket list. Though.
Yeah.
I eat that much meat. I eat that much beef easy.
Oh yeah, you're almost
That's
a
most of what I
carnivore. Yeah. Well, the other evening they took me to Brasilia, the restaurant. Are you familiar?
Is that a
with
Brazilian steakhouse?
Yeah, where they come with the oh my! If you like meat, I've never been. So you know, I've been a lot of places.
Yeah.
First time I'd ever been to one, and my goodness me, boy! If you are a carnivore, man, that is the place.
Yeah, you think
they've got these two forked spikes, and they've got. And I don't know how they cook. I assume they have great big cookers that they suspend these in the cooker. And it's everything from, you know, pork chops to lamb chops to you know, filet mignon, beef roast.
And that's called Brasilia, and that's in Asheville?
Brasilia. And so there's no menu. You go, you sit down, and when you're ready, now there's a salad bar, so you can go get your lettuce and your rabbit food if you want to. But then when you're ready, you flip over your little coaster under your wine glass from red to green. And when it's green, then they start coming from the kitchen, and they just come to your table, and you know, they've got these things, and if you, I'll take that, well then they scrape it off to your, or they cut it off, and they give you a little tweezers, and they cut the steak, you know, and you take the little pieces off, and you eat it, and then when you're done, you flip over your coaster to red. Tapped out, you know, I'm done. And it was.
So they just keep bringing it.
They just keep bringing it as long as it's
steak.
Yeah. As long as you can eat. And so what Megan instructed me with when we sat down was, don't go eat any potatoes and don't go eat the white rice. This is, you know, if you want your meat,
you can get that anytime.
That's right, get that anywhere. And so that's exactly what I did. And oh my goodness, it was.
And they want you to eat those potatoes and white rice.
Absolutely,
that's
so cheap compared to the meat. Yeah.
Asheville's got some good places.
We put it away. It was pretty impressive.
Austin, you'd get your money's worth over there. Austin could be put down some food.
We got one in Charlotte. We got two of them.
Do you really?
Yep.
Brasilia?
It's not Brasilia, but it's a Brazilian steakhouse.
Brasilia.
Yeah.
But it's the same idea.
Same idea.
Same thing. Yeah.
So I wonder if the Brazilians got it figured out, or do they just have a method figured out? So Sounds like maybe they have a way of cooking.
They probably just have a way of cooking and presentation. I mean, it was definitely not the best meat I've ever had. No question,
Right.
it was not the best meat. But it was just a really cool, a cool presentation.
Yeah.
Way to do it.
Did they have the pineapple that they
Yeah.
brought out?
Yep.
They sprinkled it with cinnamon.
Oh yeah.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, boy, that was good. And I'm a pineapple. I love pineapple.
You like the tropical fruit.
I do. I was in Venezuela for 4 years and had bananas and papayas and pineapples in the backyard.
Is it Venezuela that's banning Twitter? Somebody's coming down.
Oh.
Somebody's doing something crazy like
Well,
that.
Venezuela's kind of banning business.
I guess they're not getting any better, huh?
No. That's not a place you want to be right now.
Sounds like Uruguay is a place you want to be right now.
Oh, Uruguay.
What's their government like? What's their
very
scale
stable,
like?
very stable. They're one of the places where, who knows about Uruguay?
No.
Nobody knows. So nobody's
No.
interested in conquering Uruguay.
Right.
So it's an extremely stable, politically stable.
People are happy there.
Yeah. It's very, very high on the happiness
Were
index.
you getting Uruguayans, however you say that, or were you getting people from all over the world at that conference?
Well, there were people from all over the world, but primarily South America. There were people from all over South America. I met I'd been in Colombia. I'd done a seminar in Colombia a couple months before, and you're going to love this. Met a family, sat down with me, and they have a 500 cow milking herd.
Good Lord.
And they're all hand milked.
Whoa.
Hand milked. Can you imagine a 500 cow dairy and they're all hand milked in the field, no parlor. So they've got like 25 milkers.
Only 20. How many cows per person is that?
It was about 10 or something.
All right. 10 or 20.
20. But
Going home?
Yeah, we're going home. Hey, you want to milk 500 cows?
he wants to go to Brasilia.
Yeah.
They don't give that much milk.
Okay.
He said, they don't milk like a
it's not like 14
like an American. No. He said they're given a gallon.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can milk pretty fast. You can get in there, but I just was trying to imagine.
And
they have a tractor a truck that drives out to the field with a bulk tank, refrigerated, and they pour the milk into the.
Because they don't want a barn for 500 cows. They probably can't afford that.
No, well, and think about the cows don't have to walk to a parlor. I mean, think about how long you'd have to walk.
Yeah.
If you had 500 cows trying to walk to a
continuously
parlor.
graze them. They don't move them in any way.
Oh yeah. They rotate them. Uh-huh.
Oh, they do.
They rotate them. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, it sounded like they were doing some good stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the thought that that you can't get out of your mind is hand milking 500 cow dairy herd.
An
American wouldn't even think of milking 5 cows hardly.
Yeah.
By hand.
My grandpa used to go and milk 20 every day.
Wow.
And walk to do it.
Yep.
Walk about 3 miles that way.
Wow.
We're almost home.
Wow.
And my granny would go with him. She didn't even get paid. She just went with him and she milked 10. And her hand was strong at 101 years old when she died.
I'll bet. Well, we had several neighbors that milked 10 cows. That was pretty common.
I've milked too. It's rough. But they just did it. There wasn't.
I met an interesting guy in Oklahoma 2 weeks ago at the Okie Homesteading Expo. Donkey dairy.
Oh yeah.
Donkey. He said there's
Yes.
only 2 in the U.S. He's one of 2. He milks 35 donkeys, and they give between a cup and 3 cups at a milking. Now they're raising their babies, so he's getting the leftovers. But they have 2 teats, and because the thing is, they're 3 feet high off the ground. So you basically kind of stand next to them, and the teats go every which direction. He said nobody's been able to figure out a mechanical milker for a donkey. Of course, it's not like there's a huge market for it either. But anyway, he said, so you strip and you milk with one hand. You hold your jar with one hand and you milk with the other 2. And I mean, you're only getting a cup to 3 cups.
Who's the market for donkey milk?
So it is therapeutic. He got into it because his infant daughter got some sort of terrible autoimmune disease thing, and in their sleuthing, they found out about it. It's kind of like camel milk and autism.
Yeah.
And they found out about donkey milk for her, so they got one, they tried it, and she immediately responded and was fine. Almost like a miracle. I mean, he started weeping when he was telling me the story. It was very, very very cool. Anyway, so one thing led to another, then other people started coming to him. So you don't drink it like milk. You take it like a cough syrup, like a tablespoon at a time.
I see.
And they have now all these customers who who buy it for therapeutic, as a medicine.
You see all kinds of things, Sir Evelyn, don't you?
I do. You
still like and try.
And I'm interested in all of them. I mean, I'm just fascinated. It doesn't. I'm a real easy to please. I don't have a very high threshold.
Yeah, Jonah was like, let's pick him up in a limo. I was like, Joe Rogan picks him up in a limo.
Are we done?
He's like, you can pick him up in a limo, and like that actually might be off-putting to Joe. Let's find the cruddiest car, oldest truck we got.
Yeah, there you go. Pick me up in a Beverly Hillbillies truck.
Then he'll be impressed.
Pick me up in a Beverly Hillbillies truck.
We're with Joe, and we're gonna. We figure, you got a course that you're building. Mm-hmm. There's enough that people are already in it and consuming it and improving, but you've got a lot. You got big visions, and we're gonna talk about more of that in a minute. But I thought this would be good to maybe walk around a homestead and talk about the farming. And if anywhere along the way, hey, there's more about this in the course. I know this is a homestead. Your course is more market farm, but you were the guy I first found. Do you know that? My mentor turned me on to you over 20 years ago, and I didn't know how to farm in any certain way, except maybe how my dad did. I would just put them out in the field.
Right.
And I just thought this was the way, because that was the first book I got a hold of. And thankfully, Rebecca found Elliot Coleman's book, and that's how you garden. Yep. Absolutely. It wasn't born out of any kind of conviction. Right. It was, you were the first one I found.
Right. That's funny. And if you have never grown up, I mean, the whole idea, isn't it, revolutionary, of just moving animals? I mean, just that concept is revolutionary.
Yeah.
If you've grown up in a conventional setting where, the pigs are raised over here and the chicken house is here and this idea of actually moving them routinely is just, it changes it, because then you got to have shelter, you got to have control, you got to be able to get water every place. And so I tell people, they say, oh, you're so clever. No. If you start with moving animals, by necessity, you're starting to think about portable shelter, water, around, control, because you don't want to put them here today and here tomorrow. And so all the clever things that we've and you have invented are a natural inherent outgrowth of moving animals.
Yeah, I feel like I've tried to take what you did at Polyface and then scale it down. So instead of an eggmobile that you pull behind a tractor, a chickshaw that you pull like a rickshaw. Right. And but that took a long time to figure that out. And then, but finding you, my dad thought I was crazy. I mean, he'd make fun of me. He called them all my crazy wires, all the little wires I had out. I mean, he was so happy when I figured out how to not have crazy wires everywhere. But, I just hit the ground running with it. At first, I just put, trainer to the fence, got him in there, just put up a single strand of electric on these cows, just got powered to them, and just started moving them. At first I didn't have the cow day figured out. I knew the concept. I would drag a water hose out here, a trough, and just make it happen. And water from the well. We're just now getting to where we have gravity-fed water off the mountain. But, so thankfully, I found you, and then it made sense. I was reading you, and you were talking about how it regenerates the land, it makes it better, it makes it more productive. And I wished that my dad would have took the time to read the book. I felt like if he would just read this book, he'd get this. Do you ever feel that? Like maybe if your neighbors or somebody, we're getting into the importance of the way you farm right here. That's the purpose of this talk right here. Do you ever feel that way? Like if you just read the book, it'll make sense.
Absolutely, read the book. And I will tell you this, you're not alone. There are plenty of people who their neighbors just sloughed them off, or family members, and they bought the book, and the family member, the neighbor, read the book, said, "Oh, this is great. Let's do this." Because no prophet's loved in his own country, right? You know, and so it takes the expert from far away, to come in or if it's in a book, funny. That's credible. That's credible. It's in a book, and so I've had numerous people that have been stuck with a family or a neighbor situation. They get the book. Or now they can watch a video, and then it makes sense when they see the guru explain it, and so that's great.
I was talking with
you've done well.
I was talking with
I see Lily. Lily has her accomplishment.
I know.
Her ultimate accomplishment.
She has got the bug.
Oh man, isn't that great? Yeah.
She's got the bug, and the boys got the bug for airsoft, so they have a little airsoft field in the field.
Okay. Yep.
She got the bug for the horses. We put her in lessons 3 miles down the road, hoping to kill that bug. Backfired.
It didn't do.
Hey, he's cheering for you, Lily.
Hi, Lily.
You got your horse.
How are you doing?
Good.
Here, that's for you, Joel.
Oh, is this for me?
Is that for us?
Yes.
What is it? Coffee?
Oh.
You want coffee, Austin?
Somebody else
Me
can.
and you don't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
You're so sweet. You're so
Thank
sweet.
you.
Austin told me to make a coffee.
Oh, well, he didn't know Joel was not an addict.
Yeah, I'm not a coffee.
Joel doesn't do drugs. Okay. You're about the only one I know, so that's me, doesn't drink coffee.
Does somebody else want
You
coffee?
want the coffee?
I've had
That was very nice of you. A friend of mine was like, his daughter was bugging him for a horse, and he was refused, and the wife was like, come on, and then she's like, if you get her the horse, she'll be interested in that and not boys. Hold that off for a little while.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
So let's hold that off.
This is our male our male vaccine.
Yeah. So
Boy, that's
but it only lasts so long. But we'll and there's no booster, so eventually it will get to her. But we'll prolong it as long as we can.
Does she rides this one? I
Yeah,
assume?
she shows it. She's
wow.
an English rider. Wants to go do the shows. She
Oh,
started
my.
her YouTube channel, and it's doing really good.
Oh wow.
So I don't worry about her. She's entrepreneurial. She's every morning she checks the YouTube, see how much money. She's like, okay, if I'm gonna get a ring, this is how much money I'm gonna need. How many videos? How many?
Oh wow.
So she's thinking about that.
Yeah.
And lessons and.
Wow.
Well, anyway, Austin and I were talking about homesteading. How I feel like. My approach has been, I'm just going to do it this way, and I know people are going to find me, and they're going to feel like it's normal. And I hope so. Like, this is just how you do it. You just move everybody, or you put them on deep bedding. And that's just how you do it.
That's
it's just normal, and that's disarming, and it's worked so far, I think. And then people are building the chickshaws, and they don't know they're doing it this regenerative way always. They're just are.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's important to speak more about that, and I may do so, how important that is. And he was saying, as I was explaining to him on the way over to the airport, he's like, it just makes sense. So just reading the book, it just makes sense. Just don't return to the grass until it's recovered so you don't destroy the grass.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, let it recuperate. Simple. Yeah. I mean, we all know, and if you talk to any lawn care outfit, don't mow your grass real short and let it grow back some. Don't just keep shaving it, because first thing a little drought comes, is all going to turn brown.
Yeah.
But you let it be a little long, and you let it rest longer, and it'll be way healthier.
Yeah.
So
That's a good segue into what Jonah was going to ask you about.
well, I'll tell you right now, it's a big deal coming now and seeing the lack of fences.
I know, right?
Man, does that look different.
Right?
You can't
We
imagine.
accomplished it.
Yeah.
You could put, if people didn't see his last consult with me, he came here and we had fences around every pasture.
As close to the road as you could get them. I mean, right up.
Yeah.
Well, because you want to
Yeah,
graze
right there.
Graze side.
We wanted, and you're like, you got to get rid of these perimeter fences. We're like, wait a minute, this took us like 4 years. So we didn't pull them out right away. We pretended we didn't have them for a whole cycle. And we're like, yeah, okay, let's pull these fences.
Yeah.
And we've
Well,
been milking
the
in the
grass,
field
oh my.
for 2 years now too. Isn't this grass amazing?
It is.
If you look at our grass and then look across the beyond the pole barn, look how brown that grass is.
Yeah.
So if you just look to the neighbor,
And look at your clover.
night and day.
Clover's in.
yeah, and
Was
I don't
this- what
remember the
was this
clover
square
coming in
here?
so
Was this
soon.
a garden
Normally,
spot?
okay, so it was a swampy spot, and we graded it to be more sloped.
Okay.
And so we planted new
so,
grass in
so
the fall.
yeah, you've
That's why it's
you know
failing
that is
some.
no, well, you had to kind of restart.
Yeah, restarted.
You know, that's a concept that's so critical. We've got this notion among so many people in our movement, I'll say, in our land-loving movement, who don't want to touch the landscape. You know, oh man, you know, that tree is sacred. This little hilltop is sacred. This, and so they're afraid. They're afraid to manipulate it. It's like they've got this idea that God, nature, whatever, laid the land down in a perfect way, you know. And the fact is, a lot of times, shaving a little corner, putting a little drainage in a wet area, taking cutting a little access, you know, path to level out, you know, so you can get there and not tip over.
Oh, dude.
You know, those kind of things can revolutionize a landscape, but you gotta massage it. You gotta get in there and work with it. And so I'm tickled that you and I'm sure you've already seen improvement. Drainage.
Well, gosh.
It just
well, the deal is, I'm a nook and cranny farm, as you would call it.
Yeah.
100 acres that way, 350 acres that way. Nobody's selling, nobody's leasing. That means this 2 acres has to be more productive.
Has to be productive. Yeah.
So
you planted something here. Did you plant some ryegrass?
in the new patch,
or did you just put hay
I got
down
a
and
mix. I got a mix from Nature's Seed,
Okay.
a southeastern milk cow mix, and it had some clover. It has a little bit of alfalfa. I don't see any of that coming up. It's probably the rye coming up.
Yeah.
Because it's
early.
more hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I'll show you. Yeah, thankfully, soon after I found you, probably because of you, I found permaculture. And if there's any natural way of doing things, it's permaculture, and it's a big advocate of earthworks.
That's right.
They're not afraid to touch the land.
Swales and all sorts of wonderful things. We can change. You know, and of course, you know, I'm a huge advocate of ponds and all sorts of things.
We are not stopping progress on the house. Our tile guys are coming today. That's been the big struggle, is getting people to come.
Yeah.
There's more work than there are workers.
Yeah. Is that the tile?
It is.
Oh wow.
It's the tile guys, and they're been a couple weeks behind, so we're happy to see them. All right, Jonah. We had talked about drought, and you wanted to ask him something, particularly about this yard. He's concerned. He feels like our grass isn't coming up quick enough.
We're really concentrating right here. In other words,
we can go step on it if you want.
Yeah, let's go right up to it.
It's swampy here at the bottom. We could talk to you about that too.
Well, yeah, this is a drainage here.
Yeah, we had to just put this down just so we could access, you know, if our milk cows are here, we come out here with the side by side.
This moss is indicative of calcium deficiency.
Oh.
That's an indicator of calcium deficiency. Now, what's interesting is you also have clover, which is indicative of calcium sufficiency.
Oh, wow.
So you have both of these at the same time. Now, so I can't right now in a 1 day look, I can't tell you which direction you're transitioning to.
I see. You're saying we could be making a mistake here and going towards
You could
moss.
be transitioning toward moss.
But we could be going away from moss towards clover.
You could be going away from it as well. But if it's been better, so what I like to do when I see a spot like this is I like to pick a spot. If this whole area, so
That's been a manure pile.
that's a manure pile.
There's
That's a
another
manure
one.
pile. So when I look at a spot like this, we've certainly got them. I mean, this stuff
Hey.
here, these little weeds here are see how.
And you can get in his frame. That's okay.
So like here's one. I don't know what the name of this weed is, but you see
Come on,
how
get
flat
the
it
other
is. See how flat it is. That is a plant. That's a shield plant. In other words, that is telling you something's going on here that we've got to flatten on the ground and protect it because something's not good going
Okay.
on. Look at how flat these leaves are here.
Wow.
See how they're flattened out against the ground? Now here's strawberry.
Yeah.
My sense is that this bank is going backwards
Okay.
in fertility. But when I have a situation like this, I always try to look and see, is there some place that's expressing something different? This is different.
Ah.
This is different. And so in my mind, I'm
Wow.
thinking, okay, what would it take to make the whole bank look like this? Well, whatever made this look like this, if I do that here, it'll all look like this. And I mean, you can just see them, okay?
Yeah, and we see that's manure, so we're
Yeah.
going to come in here with the manure spreader
Yeah,
and the deep bedding.
yeah. So if you actually really concentrated here, now you do have some shade here. I mean, you got a walnut tree there, but walnuts are they're pretty open canopy.
Yeah, because you're looking at, is shade causing this? Well, this is north facing, well, that's south. So this is the north.
This is north facing.
This is north
which
facing.
means, which means it's going to tend to be damper. So this is facing away from the sun. It's a north aspect. I wouldn't say, it doesn't seem to me like if the sun's coming from here, I don't think these trees here are causing trouble because the sun's not shining this direction.
Yeah.
I think what you've got here is you've got a break point here. Look at the terrain. All right, you've got this break point right here. And I mean, clearly right here is here's some Queen Anne's lace starting
There you
up.
go, good.
That's some good stuff. I mean, and look at this.
That's good stuff.
The orchard grass, yeah, is good.
They like to eat Queen Anne's lace?
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
you learn the names of all these grasses and if they were good or not?
I don't know the names. I wish I could tell you the
Well,
names.
now there's
of,
apps.
yeah, there's apps
people
now. I
can
mean,
get leaf snap.
I don't know. But this little violet here, that's another calcium. So I'm seeing.
What's the
three.
dandelion? I'm seeing more dandelions.
Well,
this year.
calcium's dandelion's a calcium indicator as well. So
Too much or too little?
Too little. But they bring up calcium.
Okay.
Dandelions have a taproot that brings up calcium.
So,
And-
so you're not saying go get you some calcium?
No, I'm not. I'm
Reply.
not. Here's the deal. Look, you got rocks here. Look at this rock.
That's also calcium?
Well, yeah, that's got all sorts of minerals in it. Rock's got all sorts of minerals. I saw.
He's like a kid at a Christmas morning out here.
Yeah. So here's earthworm castings, right here. See them?
Wow.
See all the earthworm castings right here? Okay. I mean, that's a whole.
That's what that is?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a whole glob of earthworm castings, and
So that's an old manure pile then?
well, probably something older than a year maybe. But well, see here's castings. Look at those castings.
Yeah.
See those right there? But they're fairly anemic because I look around here and you notice there's no castings where there's moss. The earthworms are coming where there is organic material to feed them.
Yeah.
You know, manure, something, compost. Okay. And so here's the thing on the whole mineral thing. I mean, there's obviously rocks there. This is a thin, a thin bank here.
It doesn't have much soil.
I mean, I'm
That's
sure
what
if you
you're
took
saying.
if you
It's
took a
probably
shovel,
shallow soil.
if you took a shovel and
Yeah.
shoved it in here, you might not even be able to get the shovel in the whole direction. Okay, so if you throw carbon down here,
Yeah.
you increase earthworms. Earthworms, here's the coolest thing about earthworms. They take in a pound of material in their front end, run it through their alimentary canal, and out the back end poop out the same pound of material.
Wow.
But what they poop out has 3 times the calcium, 7 times the phosphorus, and 11 times the potassium
What?
of what they brought in. And nobody knows how they do that. You know, if they were pooping out half of what they took in, you say, well, they're concentrating it. But they're not. It's the same amount of material out their back end that they came in the front
Wow,
end.
nobody knows.
Nobody knows how they do that. The other thing is that this carbon, when carbon's in the soil from the manure, from wood chips, I mean, you could come in here and just lay 4 inches of wood chips on here.
Oh, really?
And then next year it'd be completely
So
different.
the leaf guy, he can just drop it right
Absolutely,
here.
leaf guy. Yeah, we've actually spread, you know, fresh wood chips on stuff
Oh,
like this.
okay.
And all right, because
Okay.
here's what happens when you have organic matter. All right, I mean this is a twig, but imagine this in a bunch of little wood chips. Okay.
Yeah.
When you have organic matter on the soil, it starts to decompose, and as it decomposes in the soil, it exudes carbon dioxide. When things rot, they give off carbon dioxide. Well, as that carbon dioxide comes up through the soil, it encounters moisture, water, H2O. Well, CO2 plus H2O makes carbonic acid. Now, if I took a rock, okay, so you know, here's a rock, okay, here's a rock here, and I think everybody would agree that rock today, I don't see any holes in it, it has the same amount of molybdenum, boron, cobalt, calcium that it did 500 years ago, okay? If we wanted to find out how much molybdenum, boron, cobalt, calcium is in this rock, we could treat it with sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, you know, numerous acids. That's why all the chemical fertilizers are acidulated, okay? You know what the most efficacious acid we could treat it with is? Carbonic acid. Carbonic acid, which is what's made when decomposing organic matter percolates up through the soil, encounters H2O, and makes carbonic acid. So, what I'm pointing out is the calcium deficiency is not, you could go out and buy lime, you could, and put it on here, but the real problem is active decomposition, which includes worms, it includes organic matter decomposition. So the real culprit here is decomposition. And so if you can stimulate decomposition, and of course, you know, worms like to be fed on top of their head. They don't like stuff tilled in, and you know, slice them up as you're putting stuff in. They want fed on top of their head. So if you can get organic matter on here, obviously compost is the best. Then you will not only excite the earthworms and develop earthworm activity, you'll also start to break down the rocks and solve the mineral issue that these calcium deficient indicators are showing.
Nice.
Okay, that's a little bit of a long expose,
Well,
but it
Do you think we?
And one of the reasons you're seeing it right off of this break point, you've got a bit of a spine here. It might even be a rock ledge, a bit, and so you've got accelerated water movement, which is leaching minerals.
Okay.
So when you have accelerated water movement, it's much easier to leach out minerals than if the water is.
Is that why it's so swampy down there? From the water going down?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's probably a drainage. I mean, you know, you get into these hills and that could easily be some sort of like almost a wet weather spring or something, you know, coming out. I mean, you're in the bottom of a mountain here.
That's their old spring right there that they used to drink from for that house.
Yeah.
Did we overgraze this? I feel like because of the drought. I mean, how early were we going to start feeding hay? I feel like we grazed it pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the last run. They were eating.
But so I guess did we overgraze it? I mean, looking at it in the spring, if you can tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is why when you do graze, you want to run your paddocks. So we got fields and we got paddocks. Okay, fields and paddocks. So you want to run your paddocks on these terrain breakpoints to honor the difference between this and this. And so, for example, let's say that you graze this, I don't know what, 5 times in a season, just for sake of discussion.
Right. 4 or 5 times.
Well, this one, from this ridge point down to the swamp, and I know this is a small area, so I mean it becomes a pain to just have them in such a tiny thing. But the concept is that maybe this you would only graze 3 times, and you'd let it get a little longer.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it's a steeper terrain. It's away from the sun. And so this is why homogeneous. That's what I'm looking for. Paddocks allow you to when that paddock is ready, you graze it, because if you have too much terrain variation, those terrains, south aspect, north aspect, east, west, they're all going to grow at different rates and actually have different species in them that are going to grow at different rates.
So for those listening, you wouldn't put like put your fence down there, so half your paddock is this and half your paddock is that. You'd put the fence here, so all your paddock is this inconsistent north sloping.
Yes, and I wouldn't want to go across the wet, because then that gets wet down in there.
You just avoid that wet.
Yeah, you just avoid.
What do you do?
And I realize we're looking at a fairly. This is a very small. But when you're just running 2 or 3 sheep, a cow, obviously, a paddock like this, and put some attention on it. You got some beautiful compost down there, I see. And that could come up. I mean, you could literally take a shovel and a wheelbarrow and and do this in a nice 2-hour project. And get.
So the more closer to compost, the better. But you can also put total raw.
Absolutely.
Total raw.
Yeah, not sawdust.
Okay.
Wood chips would be okay. Leaves would be okay. The problem with sawdust is the particles are so small that the decomposition pulls nitrogen away faster than it can be built.
That's a good point.
But the bigger pieces like wood chips, those are big enough pieces that the microbes there aren't enough seats around the table, and so they actually eat and die and hold the nitrogen as fast as they're decomposing the wood chips.
So this would be okay to hay bomb then.
Yes. Absolutely.
And maybe instead of skipping it, maybe we need to slow down because maybe we're moving too fast and we need to slow the cows down and You remember when you told me don't hit that for 2 more weeks? I don't know if you remember that, but there was an area that wasn't mature enough. And you said you got to slow down. And I said, well, where do I put them? You said put them up the hill where you need nutrients. You need more productivity. So that could be another option for people. If maybe they couldn't get wood chips or compost, but they could get hay.
They could hay bomb,
Instead of skipping it, they actually go at it more intense, but they're laying down hay.
And that's where a drought becomes your best friend.
Oh.
Because this time of year, if you hay bomb this, they're gonna tear it up. I mean, everything's damp and loose, and we're early spring. But in late July, when this gets hard and it's then you hay bomb it, and then it's a totally different effect than it is in the spring. You could actually pug it and actually damage soil structure. In the middle of the summer, if you hay bomb this when it's dry, you actually get all this wonderful material.
Yeah, I wonder then.
You mulch it.
Well, then when do you hay bomb your forest clearings?
So.
And I'm not making a mistake. We're hay bombing up there on the forest clearing.
No.
And Jonah's like, we're gonna tear it up.
No.
I'm like,
well,
I don't know.
So
is that the exception?
That would be the exception, and
we can go look at it.
You're probably not as steep there as this right here. Maybe
we'll
you
go
are.
look at it.
Maybe you are. We can look
only
at
in
it.
some
We
spots.
yeah. Well, we
Most it's not this
hay
deep.
bomb. We hay bomb where we're making conversions. We just did another. We just did 2 little 1 acre spots again this year, this spring, and we did it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, but it was fairly dry.
Okay.
And you don't want to go in when everything's just wet.
Yeah. We'll go look
you
at
want to
it.
go in when it's dry.
If somebody did lime, is that lasting, or is that then just something you have to crutch on every?
Well, there's different kinds of lime. There's high mag lime and high calcium lime. And people who spread lime don't like to use calcitic lime because it spreads out. It doesn't pile up. The problem with high mag lime, which everybody likes to use, is that magnesium ties up calcium.
Okay.
Chemically. In general, most of the people that are, whatever, of our tribe, encourage actually quarry tailings, which are completely unprocessed, and they're cheaper, and so quarry tailings can be a big help. But there are other really good minerals. Obviously, wood ashes are good. And that's where, you know, if anybody's interested in making some charcoal, you know, for lots of reasons, you can get some wood ashes there. But also, you know, things like Planters 2, trace mineral, we actually use that. You get super sacks of it, and we put a 5-gallon a bucket of that in every.
What's it called?
Planters 2. It's from ancient ocean deposits out in, I don't know what, Utah or something like that.
Okay.
But they roll the mineral around a sugar beet, so it's little round balls, and that makes it more biologically active as it goes in. So anyway, we put a 5-gallon bucket of that on every spreader full of compost that we put on.
Okay.
And you know, if we're gonna go, and we also put on a 5-gallon bucket of wood ashes because we have an outdoor wood furnace that heats the house, so we get barrels and barrels of wood ashes, and we sift them. We sift the charcoal out, and we can use the wood ashes on the compost, and the charcoal we can use to feed the pigs as a tonic. So
yeah, and we have some brush piles we've been burning, so we could we could put some ashes on our spreader.
What have you done? Is this a swale? What
That's
have you
what
done
I wanted
here?
to bring you and show you this.
Yeah,
Talk
this
about
is cool.
earthwork.
This is new.
You remember
yeah.
this is like a 35-degree slope.
Yeah.
So, what we've done to be able to, you know, now that you convinced us to do mobile milking, you know, we're coming through here. We pull the unit, which is also their shade, which can also be their stanchion. It's also their mineral with our side-by-side. So to get out here, look what we've done. We put this on 2.5-degree. It's not a contour swell. It's 2.5% off.
Oh, okay.
So we have a problem of a lot of, I mean, we can get 40 to 80 inches.
Yeah. You can get a lot of rain.
So it's a pathway. It's a pathway that is a swell.
Man, what soil cover can do, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Man, you imagine if the whole farm looked like just like this right now.
For Jonah, it's going to.
That's what enthuses me when I look at a play, you know, at a thing.
Yeah.
And I come and I pick the prettiest place, and I say, that's the potential here.
Yeah.
So imagine if the whole farm looked like this right here.
Oh.
I mean, you talk about volume, and so then, well, what did it take to do that? Well, how can we duplicate that? You know, that's the idea. Yeah. And well, this is really cool. So you can get the side by side right up through here. Oh yeah,
it's just a gradual. It gradually climbs, and then there's another one will hit it.
Okay.
It's just so much more.
So does this actually in a heavy rain? Does this actually flow with water?
I haven't seen a heavy enough rain for that to happen yet.
It's tilted enough in.
It must be absorbing it faster than it can do that.
Yeah. But it certainly slows down the slope runoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why it's
on the downside it's up here. Yeah.
Right?
Huh. That's really cool.
Now, one reason it's doing better over here is because when they grade, we did a bulldozer. You know, this topper soil is coming down.
Yeah.
And that's why this side's just doing so terrible.
Right.
And it's hard to get a manure spreader on that.
Yeah, it is.
We were able to get it on this. But, so this then, we need to, after talking with you, we just need to gird up our loins and get some
I wonder
mulch on
if
it.
you could borrow. Do you have anybody around that has like a silage feeder? You know, you've seen these side unloading,
yeah,
like
that
a
would
side
be good.
unloading silage feeder.
Yeah.
If you could if you could borrow one and just run it right along that top edge and just lay a
That's
lay
what
a,
it needs. Yep.
Just kind of, you know, it wouldn't cover the whole thing.
Yeah.
But you know, just kind of lay out another little berm of compost right along here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much, and the rain would leach through it. You know,
Yeah.
it would leach through it.
Yeah, and you're saying a berm of compost. Don't spread it.
Yeah, don't spread
Let-
it.
let-
Just
let
a
the
berm
rain
of compost.
spread
Let
it.
the rain spread.
Yeah,
Let the rain leach
that's good.
through it.
Would you remove rocks from
No,
a pasture? You value the rocks.
not necessarily.
Okay.
Not. I mean, yeah, that doesn't bother me. I mean, you're not mowing this for hay. So I mean, if that rock
Yeah.
was out in the middle of a hay field, yeah, I'd probably pick it up. But
Let's talk about hay for folks like me who doesn't make sense necessarily
Yes.
to do it on their own property.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
have found a buddy 10 miles away, or 10 minutes. Is he 10 minutes or 10?
About 10 minutes.
He's a willing to not spray,
Uh-huh.
but how to get nutrients over there. Nobody's grazing on it or anything. So I mean, the best thing I knew to do was get some organic poultry manure from New Country Organic, and have it applied. And he wanted to apply lime, so I let him do that. But what can somebody do who can't put animals on a hayfield if they're having to bring
It's
in
a
hay?
real problem.
And before that, for me to find and spray hay, I had to bring it in from Kansas. So it was crazy.
Oh no, that's you just can't move carbon around that far.
I know, right?
It's too
ridiculous.
expensive. Have you done any experimenting? I haven't, but I'm keen to. There's one of the kind of new vistas in our movement is the whole Elaine Ingham biological foliar. We don't have a sprayer. So it's hard for me to even experiment with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Neptune's Harvest even. The stories that I hear
Yep.
consistently make me interested in it. And I'm the first to admit I'm just negligent here, and partly just because I don't have anybody on my team right now that's keen to do it, and I'm so busy running around and writing stuff and doing things, I don't have time to ramrod the experiments like I used to. So, that's an excuse, I understand, but Teresa and I are making garden beds this year. That's
All
our
right,
big thing. We're making garden
That's
beds.
your experiment this year.
That's our. We did the prototypes last year, and we're thrilled.
Are you gonna get your
we're
chickens
taking
next to 'em?
basically your ideas, and we're using them. We're
That's what I'm
stealing
saying. Are you
your
going to
ideas.
get chickens next to them this
Yes,
year, or is that next
yes.
year?
I've got my design
Okay, good.
in my mind.
That's good.
And I'm hoping to get that done this year
And that's
as well.
been on your heart for a while, so
It has.
it's good you're getting it.
Yeah, it has. It's been good.
Neptune's Harvest, that's what you
Yeah,
heard?
that's
So
one
you're
of
just
them.
saying
But
a
there's
liquid.
there's algae. There's a host of these.
And why is that better than fertilizer?
Well, what the idea is, compost tea, manure tea. I mean, this is something you could brew
Okay,
here.
okay,
You
yeah.
can brew this stuff here and make your foliar amendments, and then he could spray it on there,
Okay.
and it might get you over that hump. Because the truth is, if you're making hay and translocating all the biomass
Yep,
every year,
I
you
know.
are depleting things. There's
Yeah.
just nothing else that you can say, and you're doing it. You're doing the same thing with the same field every year, and you know as well as I do. We don't even want to start grazing on the same spot every year. We want to shift that.
Yeah.
You start at paddock A this year, start at paddock G next year. You start. Why? Because we want different things to reach physiological expression at different times, and so. And so anything where you're doing the same thing every year, like hayfield, we're mowing this every year, sometime between May 20 and June 10.
Yeah.
Anytime you're doing the same thing to the same place every single year, that's anti-ecological. I mean,
Yeah.
it just by definition, it is.
Can
So-
you add enough ecological to make up
Well,
for it,
that's
or
the
is it a
question.
hopeless case?
Well, no, you can. I mean, if you could add enough, the ideal would be compost.
Yeah.
If you could add enough compost, then you certainly could.
How much
but-
compost do you need per acre
But that would take a lot of
to
compost.
recover a hayfield?
Yeah, probably, somewhere between 2 and 4 tons.
Okay.
I mean, how much
That's only
are you taking off?
that's only a dump truck load.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. If you're
So it's only
per acre.
okay.
Per
Oh
acre,
yeah,
per
yeah.
acre.
2 to 4.
So if you're, let's
2 to 4
say you're
tons.
taking off 100. Let's say you're taking off 4,000 pounds
Okay,
of
this
hay
is
per
good.
acre.
Okay.
If you're putting back on somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds of compost, you're probably okay.
So
And, I'm just looking at the carbon.
this
you
is
know,
good. How'd you learn all that?
I talk to people smarter than me.
You name these numbers,
and,
man.
and I read. Well, a good hay field. I mean, down here, I'm sure if he's got any good hay at all, it's going to be 4,000 pounds an acre. I mean, that's 40. That's 100 little square bales. They weigh 40 pounds. That's 4,000 pounds. So if you can put on the same amount, but anything you can find. I mean, when you start looking around, there are. I just talked to a guy in Vermont who has just started getting produce from his local, Kroger supermarket, and he thought he might get, a few 5-gallon buckets of, a week. And he's starting he's starting a little earthworm business. He's got a brand name and he's starting to sell castings. And in the first week, well, he's into this now about 2 months, and there are pallet loads and pallet loads of this junk of blemished produce coming out the back of this store, to where he's calling all of his friends, hey, you got chickens? I mean, he can't even use it all. There's that much stuff. And so there again, I've run into people that have these big worm pea, where you make a box, a worm box, and then you bleed off you have a little, they kind of make, I call it worm pea, but they have a waste, worms, and you have this drainage down here, and that is incredibly rich. And these are all things I'm interested in right now, but I'm almost ready. I need a person. I need a person that's as interested in this, as I am, and then we can run with it. But if if one of the kids took an interest in the bug idea. I've been on vineyards in Spain. Guy was running his whole thing on bioferts, and he had his little barrels that he was percolating, and he had his compost tea bags and stuff in there. And it was impressive. Wow. It was impressive, and this was commercial. He had 100 acres of vineyard. It was a big outfit, and boy, the changes and his neighbors, and it was unbelievable, the differences. So I was there to try to encourage and help him to figure out how to run chickens, add chickens under the grapes, pick up the dead fruit, and eliminate that issue.
Did you help him with that?
I think, yeah.
He started running chickens under there?
Yeah, he's been here now. He's been here now last spring, and he's making some real progress. He's got some egg mobiles and different things, and he's not doing a clean. He's not doing an herbicide under the, it's grass. Yeah. It's grass, so he needs to mow it.
Well, your water idea, or liquid, you're speaking that because it's going to be more concentrated and easier to transport and travel and go a little further. You're not involved in dump trucks.
There
or
are brands
spreaders.
now. Yeah, there are brands now that are selling this, and when you ask them, well, what's the point of this? Well, the point of this is that you can take your 4,000 pounds of compost and concentrate it biologically to, a 55-gallon barrel.
Okay.
And suddenly, it's just more efficient to spread, more efficient to handle, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not ready to be a full believer because we've tried some algae, we've tried, I don't want to mention brands, but we've tried numerous of them, and we've never seen the things that they say that it'll do on any of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there isn't one, and I'm not saying if you do it yourself you can't get something. We haven't seen it. So The one thing that has never let us down is compost. We
Yeah.
know if we get compost on something,
Well,
everything
yeah, and
happens.
your animals going through it.
Yeah.
And then compost.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, then we could do a full spray on this bank.
You
a
sure could.
compost spray.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
we
you sure
can't
could.
figure out the
Yeah, yeah.
silo shooter of the compost itself.
Right.
So-
This is a
so
water
what we've
line
done-
that's buried.
This was that we've kind of abandoned. I would ask you this.
You abandoned the water line?
Do you? Well, no, we're actually still using it. But I want to ask you this. I feel the water line needs to be on these pathways, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, is water line like electric fence? I shouldn't make a permanent water line until it's been there 3 years. A mobile one, you know what I mean? Because it's like we dug this trench, then we did these pathways, and I'm like, oh.
Well, okay, so you definitely want weatherproof water. That's a given.
Well, I'm gonna ask you that. Let's talk about that too.
Well,
What do you recommend in your course?
this is not weatherproof.
No,
That-
no, it's not. Well,
Okay.
that's it too.
So if you don't need weatherproof,
Right.
then I wouldn't even bury it. I just run it on the berm of that thing, and just let it be.
Do you need weatherproof?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Do you bury it?
Yes, we do.
What do you do? Ran a trencher and
No, we have a subsoiler. It's a one-shoe subsoiler with a pipe welded on the back that hinges, and you just feed it in.
oh wow.
You just feed it in, and you can put in a mile of pipe a day. As fast as you can walk, you can lay
And
pipe.
you use the 1 inch.
Most of our stuff we use 1 1/4 inch because we're running herds
Yeah,
of
okay.
300, 400, 500 head of cattle.
And the tool you just described, is that made for that, or you rig that for that?
So the subsoiler is made. You can go buy a subsoiler.
Yeah.
But then now in Australia you can buy them because they do
Yeah.
a lot of this, and they don't bury them in Australia. I was asking that guy. I said, "It doesn't freeze here. Why do you bury your pipe?" He said, "Because it'll get so hot, it turns to steam and bursts the pipe because it gets black pipe. It gets hot and
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I bury it because of burial. Well, one reason I bury it, yeah, I know. I realize that's not waterproof. We're putting them in before it becomes too much of a pain in the butt.
So what
You
we
know,
do,
because go ahead.
yeah. So what we do is each one of these joints, we simply get like a 20-foot piece of like 18-inch plastic culvert
Okay.
and just cut it in little segments,
Okay.
and just take a shovel, dig out a little hole. You know, cut 2 little notches to go over the pipe at the bottom, and lay it in there, and just put a round piece of wood or something on top. And that's weatherproof, and ours. So, most people buy a $150 like frost-free hydrant.
Yeah.
But those are very expensive, and inevitably something will come up and rub on it and bust it over,
Yeah,
and then you've got So we just put a tee in.
Just a regular plastic tee with hose clamps.
Yeah, with hose clamps.
Oh, okay, that's working.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's wonderful. And you got to special order these tees. They make
Okay.
so what it is. The tee is barbed on the 2 ends, so your pipe can go on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tee coming out is a 3/4 inch female plumbing threads.
Okay.
Okay, and you can get these for 3/4 inch, inch and a quarter, inch and a half, and then we just put a little the little plumbing threads on one end and garden hose threads on the other. The little whatever, the little adapter.
Yeah.
Okay. Screw that in there. Now you've got garden hose threads, and you just put a regular garden hose valve on the end, and you're done.
So the T doesn't get you to the garden hose.
The T doesn't get you to the garden hose. You've got 3 fittings in all.
Okay.
You've got the T, then you got the little converter, thread converter, and then you've got your little valve on the top. But it can all be buried under this wooden cap. Okay.
And then when you need to tap it for water, you open up the lid
Yeah.
and you just
Yeah. and we just screw it on.
You don't use quick connects, I've noticed.
We don't. And the reason we don't use quick connects is because over time, the friction, you start getting leakage. You get a little grain of sand in there, a little anything. Next thing you know, you've got.
Yeah, I've noticed they'll stop working too. They'll get dirt in there, and you can't. It's kind of like just.
Yeah. So we just use the, it doesn't take but a minute to screw it on, and if I can't get my work done because I'm spending another 20 seconds screwing on a hose, I got other problems. It's not a hose adapter, but that's what we use. But if you're not actually looking for for winter for weatherproofing.
Well, I was going to say the only other reason I cover it is because we are pulling our milk station, which is also their shade on skids, and you can catch this hose if it's not buried.
Yeah.
So I'm like the Australians. I have different reasons to bury it than.
So what's the bigger hose?
So this is actually, is this our old hose,
Yeah,
Jonah?
see, the electric.
We've gone up to 1 inch since this. That's this.
Oh, that's an old.
We just need to pick that up.
You need to pick that up. Okay.
And then.
And that's electric.
This is. I went along with it, and then there was every 100 feet there's going to be a T-post with a connection. I'm not married to it.
Are you burying? Are you burying this?
Yeah.
You are going to bury this eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once we figure out where this should go,
it's going to run.
We're going to repair this because I feel like it needs to go along the pathway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no question that it should go along the pathway.
And
that's your platform, Justin. Access is number one. If you can't get there, and this is kind of permaculture stuff.
Yeah.
Access is number one. If you can't get there, you can't do anything with it. And you've learned that. You've paid for some excavation and some dozer work to get some stuff pushed in. Access number one. Number two is water. You can't do anything without water.
Yeah.
And number three is control, and that's your fencing. That's our platform. As when we look at that design, we're looking at those three things in that order: access, water, control.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. And of course, the access automatically, on a bigger farm, access automatically demands, like if this were a big place and this were an actual, like an equipment road, where you could run tractors and things down, hay equipment, whatever, and this were actually a bigger shelf.
Yeah.
Okay. Then at 16 feet wide, then you put your electric fence and you put your water line down one side of it.
Okay.
So the access inherently creates the basic pattern for the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. Which side would you put it on? Does it matter? So let's walk up here and get on this other access road just so you can see it. And then while we're walking there, let's ask you.
Yeah, you've got a pile of tree planting.
Yeah.
Here. This is really cool.
So our idea here is, well, we're forestering our pastures. Like this guy I know.
So are these all fruit trees?
These are fruit trees.
All fruit trees.
So right here we're above the frost pocket. This is about 50 feet vertical from the creek.
Yep.
And we just planted a savanna, silvopasture of apple trees.
These are all apples?
Well, no, they're not all
they're
apples.
different
Sorry.
things.
There's pears, there's plums, there's apples, peaches. Peaches do good here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I envy you. We've tried peaches. We're just too cold.
Are you too cold?
We're just too cold.
You're zone
you go over
6?
We're zone 7. We're the We're the same zone as South Dakota.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, 'cause we're 1,800 feet.
All right.
2,000 feet.
Well,
I love your poor boy. This is really.
You like this? I was going to ask if you had a better idea.
No, I love it.
Protect these trees from sheep.
We've done it with basically take this same approach.
Yeah.
A 2x2 on the sawmill.
Yeah, that's what that is.
And put 4 of them in.
But you're just dealing with cows. You wouldn't need this with cows, or I guess you would.
You would with cows, and I'm hoping that this will hold with cows. We're not putting cows where we're doing this. If we put cows, we would use electric fence. So all we need is sheep. We're trying, and sheep and deer.
Yeah, that's right.
We have terrible deer pressure, and so what we've done is made taller ones.
Okay.
Like 8 feet 8 feet long, put them in the ground 2 feet, so you got 6. So this is say I'm almost 6 feet. So okay, so imagine this sticking up here. 4 of them, just the 2x2s.
Okay.
And then wrap them with a nursery shade cloth.
Oh.
And that has worked beautifully. We've been running sheep through there, and the deer have not touched them.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah, I haven't. I don't feel like I have this dialed in yet either.
Yeah, well, that's what we've done, and what we figure is that those are going to rot in about 3 years.
Yeah.
But by that time, you know, they're going to be up, kind of get up away from everything.
Are you worried about this rotting and the screws falling into the ground and then the cows picking it up?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't know. Yeah, I hope that.
You're thinking it's. I noticed Greg, I might have to experiment with what he does. He's got a goat. He does a hard paneled goat.
Oh.
And he just does 3 sides, no T-posts.
Mm-hmm.
Or does he
like
do
a triangle.
T-post? Yeah, like a triangle.
Well, we were thinking about a triangle, but then we thought, you know, we want a little more stability. So we just, I mean, they're cheap. I mean, we just mill them on it. They're just junk. And just drove them in with you drive them in with a T-post pounder. Yeah. And then there's no T-posts. And they're just going to rot, and the shade cloth will eventually just kind of, whatever. Yeah. It'll give up the ghost too.
This could maybe be supported, diagonally that way? And
it maybe could. We have a lot of problems, even on rental farms, with the cows. You know, we've got beef cows, so they're, got some size to them, where they rub and stretch and on telephone pole, like where there's a guy wire down from a utility pole, and they'll actually loosen it, over time and just get. And so we have actually gotten along real well with just putting a couple fence posts in with a little board. I'm wondering if what you've done here, if you just made a wooden, you could do a triangle, that would make it less big, but make a triangle with just some 1x3, 1x6 boards, and being a triangle, it won't be wobbly because you get the triangular support, and just with maybe, I don't know what, 5 boards or something up, that would not even. I'm wondering if it would even have to be put in the ground. That it could be something that you could actually put over the tree.
I see.
Okay. You and Jonah can pick it up and stick it over the tree, and I just
has to be to where it's far enough out where the sheep can't reach through and get it
that's
too.
Right. That's right.
It has to be a pretty triangle.
Right. But you want it to be a kind of wide base.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll tip it over.
Yeah.
So if you made something 4,
that might
4,
be
4, 4.
Yeah.
Just with wood, no wire, just with wood, it would be real stable. I just don't know.
That might be a good experiment.
I don't think the sheep would bother it. I don't know what the cows.
Yeah, I don't think the sheep
They
would.
don't scratch on this usually because they have the sled.
Yeah, that's true.
The cows are scratching on scratch, and the cows don't scratch as much as the bull, and we only got one bull.
I'm impressed with the progress. I don't come every single year, but you're definitely getting some.
I wish people could see what this pasture looked like.
Oh my, yeah. I'm seeing some real progress here. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Some of these areas we're going to have to get something down for sure, but some of these are seemingly going to make it.
You might be able to do just as well hay bombing.
Yeah.
Just in other words, you did well, it just wasn't quite enough.
So we could maybe unroll a big round bale here.
Did you feed on this, or did you just?
No, I haven't feed on it. No, we cast and put hay.
I would say what I'm seeing here is if you had done about 3 times what you did, I think this would be really different.
Okay.
I think it'd be really different.
Yeah.
This got washed away.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 3 times?
It just wasn't quite enough. enough material.
You want to go on a walk now
Yeah.
on our farm?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's fantastic.
Lily can ride her horse on this trail.
Yep.
And we're keeping this, I call it a pathway, so we're not going to like gravel it or anything.
No, that's right.
This will actually be pasture. We'll graze it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask you, does it matter where we put, I don't know where to put this water. I'm afraid to like dig a ditch already, because what if I decide I don't want it there? Maybe I want it on top of this.
Well,
we're going to graze this.
here's the advantage. Here's the advantage, and it's a big one, for putting it up here instead of down here.
Yeah.
If there's a leak, you'll see it.
Okay.
Down here, you
point.
won't see a leak as well.
You're right.
Because
Yeah.
you're not walking below it.
Okay.
Here, your traffic is downhill of the pipe. So if there's ever a leak, you'll see it. And so we always put our hoses on the
Okay,
uphill
that's
side of
good
the
to know.
road.
That's good to know.
So we can see a leak.
Not right here though.
No.
So
No.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, well now we know where to put it. I'm just gonna grab some of this while we go here.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Austin was here when we covered this. Boy, it was a big job spreading 30 brown bells on this.
Yeah. Come in here in the dry and just roll them out and feed, and let the cows tromp it in.
I mean, it's pretty dry right now.
Yeah, it is.
We could do that with sheep too, couldn't we?
Yeah,
Hay bomb?
absolutely. Yeah, you could do it with sheep.
So we might just start doing that, Jonah. Just start taking a system of them. Hey, we hay bombed this year.
This is kind of new open now.
Yeah.
Ish,
since
2
I've been
years.
here?
This was last winter.
Did a really good job of getting rid of all the sticks. That's where the
This-
sticks. It's not good
This
enough.
was last year.
Yeah.
Not this winter, but last winter. And so this year we hay bombed it.
And is that a new road you put in up there?
No, that's an old road.
That's the old road, the old original.
That's the old logging road.
I've never seen that. I've never, because the last time I was here, this was still woods here,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it? So you've opened this up.
Ish, yeah. This all used to be woods.
Yeah.
This had a peninsula of woods here.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to just hay bomb this, and we put our steers and our ram and our bull. We just kept them out here over the winter, hay bombing. Is it all right to hay bomb in the winter?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anytime.
Anytime.
So, well, except you weren't a big fan of hay bombing it on steep during
on steep
wet
when
times,
it's really
which
wet.
could be
Yeah, if it's
winter.
really, really wet. Yeah.
Yeah, so here we just.
But,
well,
I mean,
this is
this
so
is-
steep.
this
Is
is-
this
this
too
is-
steep for hay bombing?
No. This is plenty dry. I mean, this is.
So you're just looking for dry more.
Yeah, I'm looking.
And would you rather run
mean,
sheep on this as opposed to cows?
Well,
'Cause it's so
they're
steep.
a little more gentle for sure. You've planted.
Yeah.
You've planted clover here.
That's clover, yeah.
Yeah.
We
yeah,
planted a mix.
Yeah.
And then,
What do you do about sticks?
so then what we
Sticks, just leave them. They'll decompose.
So I guess my thought, yeah, he's worried about the sticks.
Well,
So
I mean,
tell him- I tell him
if you want to do something with them, just flip them all so they're in on contour to catch water.
Oh.
All those sticks, like that one up, all those sticks that are sideways of the hill are helping to slow
That's
water.
so good.
Slow water
That's
down.
so good. So I'm gonna show him what you mean by that. So you take this stick,
Yep.
Jonah, and
Yep.
you just put it like this.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And maybe you put a pile of them here. We're making a
Well,
dam.
not necessarily a pile, but but you just lay them with intention. That's all. I mean, here's one completely vertical. Okay, so you bring it over and you just lay
Would
it
that
in
look
there,
better?
and you'd be surprised.
He's like, okay. He's got an element of looks. He wants it to look nice too.
Yeah, it will.
That one's already in position.
That one's
Jonah.
in. This one here, look, it caught.
Wow.
It caught all that. Look at that berm there.
Wow.
That in just a season caught.
See that?
Built up.
And that's instead of this topsoil washing away
Yeah, that's right.
and ended up down on the road.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you can look at it right here. This is a real clear dam where that end was over, and that water came right down here, pooled up, and it caught all that sediment all the way out to right here, where my hand is, right there. It caught all that. That stick was on top of the ground, and now you got all that.
How'd you learn that?
Remember when we came to the farm in 1961, it was rocks and gullies. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
now it wasn't all steep like this, but but it had been plowed for, you know, a long time, and we didn't have money, and so we went up. A lot of my, you know, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, was going up on these hillsides, maybe not quite this steep, but almost, that were just, we had 16-foot deep gullies, just, and we would take branches, lay them in the bottom with the butt downhill and the branches uphill, and in no time at all, those built literally terraces in the bottom of gullies, where that pile of branches down in the bottom would catch, you know, slow the water down. As soon as it started slowing the water down, it would drop its debris, and it started doing that. We, back in those days, in the early 60s, people didn't have corn combines yet, and so they would have a corn picker, pick the corn, take it down to the feed mill, local feed mill. They would run it through a stationary, sheller that would take and then they had all these cobs. And one of the first thing, the first big piece of equipment Dad bought. I mean, when we bought the farm, it had a little Ford 8N tractor, the little 20 horsepower, red and gray tractor, and a hay mower, an old horse-drawn rake that had been converted to tractor, and an old case hay baler that didn't work very well. So the first piece of equipment that Dad bought was a dump truck, and it was all to bring in carbon. So he'd go down to the feed store where farmers were bringing in the fall, were bringing in these things. And of course he was an accountant, he was working, in town, but I can remember in the dark of the moon at night, 10, 11 o'clock, he's out there on these slopes and putting corn cobs out to catch the water.
Isn't that something?
And those corn cobs were just enough strength. And
Wow.
and all those banks are now, we graze them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this too steep? This is probably
This
35.
is about as steep as you want to go. It's pretty steep.
This is breaking permaculture rules, I know that.
Yeah,
20%.
it's pretty steep.
But
It's pretty steep because this is almost. How do you?
I mean-
would you bring a manure spreader up here?
no,
No way.
it's too dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So it's going to have to be hay bonding is the only way to bring the nutrients here.
or by hand, or I mean, hey, no, this is where you run chickens,
Oh yeah?
turkeys. I mean, you can run nets here,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
So poultry, this is where we run things like poultry. Well,
Oh, because they don't pug as much?
they
Is
don't
that why you're
pug,
saying
but
that?
they bring fertility.
Oh,
I mean,
Oh.
you're feeding them feed,
okay.
and they're pooping,
Yeah.
and they're bringing fertility.
Yeah, so park our chickens in here.
Yeah, I mean, you can, with the ATV, you can bring feed up to them.
Yeah.
And so you put feed. I mean, basically, okay. So you're buying hay from a neighbor. Well, you buy feed. And this is where you get into this purist discussion. People start to get wonked out and weird about purity, but the fact is, one of the most valuable, one of the most important things that animals do in nature is move fertility from low ground to high ground because they can move.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all the fertility gradually comes off the hills and into the valleys. And so historically, predation is what moved the birds and the bison and the elk. They'd graze in the valleys, move up to the high ground to chew their cud and lounge so they could watch for predators. While they were there. They peed and they pooped and they moved that valley fertility up. So where we are, we're surrounded by people. We're on a kind of a headwaters farm, and people downhill in the valleys and the deeper soils, down there, that kind of place. That's where they grow corn and soybeans and wheat and rye and all this stuff. So we buy that from the valley and feed it to the animals on the.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, we're duplicating very strategically that same pattern of, the historic.
So
Movement
the
of-
turkeys need to go up in here
Yeah.
this year instead
Oh,
of
the turkeys
down
would,
there.
turkeys
You
would
can get there
love.
easy with turkeys.
Turkeys would love this up here.
Yeah,
They would
and
love
then,
this up here.
The egg-laying chickens.
Uh-huh,
But you don't want to keep them in one area too long, or they start.
Oh no,
Scratching
you're
it
moving
down the
them,
hill.
moving them every couple days. Yeah,
Okay.
you're moving them right along.
Okay.
But boy, I'll tell you what, that will bring grass, man.
Will
and
it?
you don't have to worry about the sticks. They're going to decompose in 3 years. There won't be any sticks here.
Yeah.
Daniel, agree with you on all this?
He better.
See, we're like. What is one of Daniel's own ideas?
Oh
you let
well,
him go
he's our
with?
hunter.
He hunts.
He's our hunter. So he now officially has deer chores.
Okay.
Deer chores. So he is creating. So for the first time this spring, we've picked a little hollow, kind of like this,
Yeah.
and about this same size, between two of our pig. So we have a. You've been to our place. So we have
feel
this.
like you
we
showed
have
me.
this one pig pasture that's kind of a kidney bean around this ravine.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, when we made the pig pasture, I cut it all, but I fenced out the ravine so it would come back in woods, and you've got this pig pasture. It's like a 2-acre pig pasture around this ravine. This ravine has now grown back. It's been 20 years, and it's grown back and got some nice trees in it. Well, he's going up with the chainsaw and doing hinge cutting. Hinge cutting all the junk trees, the red maple and the crookeds and all this, leaving the good growing trees, basically creating a deer protective, where they can, so when you hinge cut, you cut about this high, pretty high, and you don't cut the tree clear through. You just cut it till it falls over, and that cut then sprouts like, what's the, almost like pollarding, okay, like pollarding, and then the laid over creates cover, and the deer, come in there for protection, and so he's doing a whole. It's going to be an acre by the time he's done. He's about a third done with it.
Wow.
And we've never done anything like it, but that's his, And
That's cool.
for me, I think it looks terrible. I mean, it looks like a mess, But deer need some mess,
Yeah.
to be attracted. And so he's really working on the deer herd, getting some big bucks, and he won't let anybody shoot anything under eight points. And we're getting some really nice big deer, because we've got a big enough tract of land that we have
Yeah.
deer that actually live. They don't go on neighbors. So we can actually. There are deer that we can kind of cultivate that aren't going to go get shot.
Yeah.
On the.
Do you find that deer are more attracted to your land because
Oh yeah,
of the way you farm?
yeah, no question. So the ponds we built way up in the mountain, they're attractive because there aren't
Yeah.
any ponds anywhere on the mountain anywhere, and of course the deer, the pig
pasture.
pastures have always attracted the deer. I mean that, but then when you add cover next, because the problem is these are pretty dense woods, but a lot of our woods are real open,
Yeah.
with those we don't have. Beautiful azaleas like that.
Yeah.
So our woods are pretty open. So what happens is deer comes out and they graze in the pig pasture in the fall. But then if they get spooked, or then they run way out of sight. But if you can get an acre strategically around of cover, they quit running. And it just makes for an interesting hunt. He's actually, he's, I'm not doing it justice because, he reads this stuff. He's got a couple buddies that he hunts with on our property, and they just brainstorm, and see, they're coming down this ridge right here, and so if we he's taken now that we have a skid steer, he's gone up, and a place like this, for example, like this. He's excavated a little pond. Just the size of a swimming pool, built a little dam, a little pond there to give water for the deer.
Nice.
Up. And then last year, again, first time last year, He actually asked my help. He asked me to come up, and he had cleared a little half-acre spot, and was wanting to do a planting of beans and maize and stuff to attract them. And but there were some big trees that were going to shade it too much, so we dropped those trees, and took the saw logs out, and he took the tops, pushed them below the little pond he'd built, and boy, I mean, in no time, it looked like there were pigs in that pond. It was so used because he and his buddies had decided that that's where the deer go.
They figured it out.
And so now the deer, that's their way station. That's like their rest stop.
Okay.
And now they got a deer stand, and
Nice.
it's neat. So yeah.
You worried about this bugging right here?
Well,
That needed more hay waste.
yeah, probably. It's not the best, but I love the twine. One of the best things
Oh,
you
yeah?
can do is leave the twine.
Really?
We actually collect all of our twine
Oh.
and use it for places like this.
Well, we got to start doing
And-
that because
and-
that's dammed it up right there.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it's dammed it up. Twine won't run. It won't run down the ground, like hay
Yeah.
will.
And it biodegrades.
And it degrades. Yeah, it degrades. I think the quickest way to move this forward is with poultry,
Okay.
and just enjoy it, use it, and instead of hauling hay up, haul
Okay.
feed up.
You could
I
put some
see.
monsters on the.
Okay.
Not if there
And
was
that's
deer.
your main reason for, hey, maybe not putting the big animals up here. It's harder to haul hay. It's just easier to haul.
Well, no, I would graze it. I would graze it with the
Okay.
herbivores for
Okay.
sure,
Okay.
but they're not going to make you fertility.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, this is another raging discussion in our movement.
I see.
Another raging discussion in our movement as to is the best way to remediate something. So here's what I've finally come to. That the recipe for remediation depends on your starting point. So let's say we're going to run a race. We got 3 people ready. We're going to run a 100-yard dash. One guy's got a broken leg. One guy's got a broken arm. One guy's got a broken back. Or maybe the other guy's 400 pounds. He's way overweight, okay? So the regimen to get ready for this race is going to be different between the guy with a broken leg, broken arm, and 400 pounds, right? They don't, and that's the way it is with the land, because everybody's starting from a different place.
Yeah.
Like we started from a place of there was no soil. I mean, my story of Dad pouring the concrete in car tires and putting 1/2-inch pipe in them. We didn't have enough soil to hold up electric fence stakes, okay? And so
Goodness.
so we had to actually build soil, okay? Here you have soil. This has been rested a long time, been under woods. In a lot of ways, this is almost like quasi-virgin land. It's been rested a long time. It's had trees on it, blah, blah, blah. And so your recipe for moving forward, and of course, terrain makes a difference, how steep it is, different things. And so all I'm saying is that the regimen, the remediation checklist will be different
Yeah.
depending on where you start. And so here, I mean, all animals have 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive in the case of poultry, and they can be on something steep, but it is more fragile. You just have to understand this is more fragile, and you might only graze that twice a year and let it get longer
Yeah.
than you would down here, where it's a little more forgiving.
Yeah.
And then you do your other grazes with maybe some laying chickens and some turkeys, but goodness, with what you've done here, I mean, I know that you've never aspired to be a commercial farmer,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm seeing some real potential here. If one of the kids wants
Yeah.
to raise, 200 turkeys
Yeah.
and make a you know,
Yeah,
make
turkeys are incredibly easy.
yeah, make a 200 turkeys at $50 a piece is was that $10,000?
Yeah.
You know, that's not just pocket change, and that could absolutely be done here. And think of the fertility you'd be bringing in.
And you're talking about $50 profit
No,
or revenue?
revenue.
Yeah.
Well, probably more than that. More
Yeah,
than
I
that.
think so, because you can sell a turkey for over $100 here.
Well, you can. Yeah, well, here, yeah, that's true. Everything's expensive here.
In Asheville, you can.
Ours are
$125.
Yeah, ours average about 65 or 70.
Well, wow. Does anybody need a turkey? Polyfish Yum.
Yeah, yeah,
Best deal on the East Coast.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you compare, I'm always trying to think of how can I do this work and monetize it.
Yeah.
So I'm not just
Okay.
I'm not just carrying hay up here or whatever. I'm doing something that actually is paying
Yeah.
for my redemptive, you know, for my remediation. That's
So if you spend if you revenue $50 per turkey, what do you make? What's the profit on that?
profit is about 20.
20. So almost half. That's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So that's nothing to shake a stick at. $5,000 profit.
Yeah.
Okay. This a good hay bomb?
Yeah.
Because we were wondering, did we do
I like
enough
it.
hay? Did we do too much?
No,
Well, you can't do too much, but did we do too
Well,
little?
you can do so much that you smother it and then it.
Oh, you
know,
can?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I think that looks
So-
really good.
So as
I'm
as
tickled
Matt
with
puts camera on this
Yeah.
patch here, tell
Yeah.
the people why that's good. Like how can you tell that's not too much hay, not too much?
Well, we talked about
Or too
organic
little.
matter. Well,
Yeah.
you don't want to put on so much hay that you actually mulch out the grass.
Okay.
But what you want to do is get enough cover on there that the water, that when raindrops hit the ground at 120 miles an hour,
Wow.
they're like little bombs.
Whoa.
And so when the raindrops hits a bare soil like
Yeah.
this, it actually, you can watch it, and this has been captured on camera over and over, where it actually hits and makes a little crater, and it knocks the little clay particles out, and hardens the bottom of the crater, and then caps the other parts. The difference between a piece of sand, this is one of my favorite little word pictures. If a grain of sand were an NFL stadium, think about, we're an NFL stadium, a particle of clay is one person in that stadium.
Wow.
That's how different it is. And so when a raindrop hits bare soil, it bounces all the clay particles out, and they cap the soil and stop oxygen from being able to get in there. So what you've done when you hay bomb something like this, you have put mulch, you've put enough
I see.
material on the ground, so when that raindrop comes down and hits the ground, it's actually not hitting the soil, it's hitting a buffer, a blade of grass, a blade of straw, something, hay. And that means when and that splatters, it takes that initial velocity off, splatters that raindrop, and it actually hits the soil as a mist,
Wow.
as a fog. And so you're holding your water,
Nice.
you're holding your soil, and all the organic matter is stimulating this whole biological, decomposition cycle that we talked about before. So I just can't imagine this being any better. This is just perfect.
This is gonna come up. It was poor, like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We really need to hay bomb that one too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the boys been having to, drive the machines up here to hay bomb. This, and so we've compacted this pasture. What are your ideas to either not do that or help it recover?
In other words, your
to
access.
get hay to the hay bomb,
your
how
access,
do you not
your access.
drive through the cornfield, so to speak?
Okay, so this is where access becomes a big deal. So you never want to drive up and down a hill.
Okay.
Never. You always want to drive on contour. So the ideal, I assume this path goes all the way out to the,
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you could go.
So I would go up the road,
Yeah.
and then come out this path. You never drive up and down
Down
a
this
hill.
path. Okay.
And so part of designing the access, that's why you want access when you're putting in access, you want access to split your property. So for example, now I know this road here was an old legacy road, right?
Way down there, you're seeing
Yeah,
along
yeah,
the
yeah.
wood line?
Way
Yeah,
down
that's
there?
a logging road.
Yeah, that's
and
an old
that's
logging-
along the perimeter of the property.
Yeah, okay. So I thought so. So I'm making the point that if you were starting from scratch and you bought this thing tomorrow,
Yeah.
if I came and said, and you said, Joel, tell me where to put the road, I would have put the road right smack up through the middle of this,
Yeah.
because you want your access to touch as much of your acreage as possible so you can access as much of your acreage as
Yeah.
possible. And what people do is well, I want the road out of sight. I'm gonna put it down here along the boundary. Well, then you've got all this between that you don't have any access to. So then, you start doing this. So obviously you've got a good road there. We're not, you're not gonna duplicate it up through here. But what you have done is you've made a nice access here. And so this is where, look, if this actually becomes a little bit, overused for a period of time, it's not going to hurt anything because it's not going to erode. It's not steep. You're not going up and down a hill.
That's what I tell the boys. It's not going to
No.
run very fast
That's
off here
right.
washing the soil
That's
away.
right.
It's not
That's
going to
right.
wash much soil
That's
away.
right. And if you do get any washing at all here, you can always put in a little water bar.
Yeah.
If you get a little spot where,
Yeah,
well,
maybe it's a
like
little
from the
steeper
top
right
from the
here.
top there to right here, I can imagine if you wore this down,
Yeah.
you'd get a little bit of an erosion here. Okay, so you put a little water bar here, knock it off, you're okay. But yeah, this right here is not good.
Yeah. And not much you can do about it, but just time.
Yeah, but what you do is you drive extra. One of the things that we say is our fields, assume they're cornfields.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't do it in a standing cornfield, don't do it on the grass.
Right. Don't drive in it.
Yeah, and so the whole idea of access is to put all of your traffic on that and keep all your
That makes
fields
sense.
really nice and open.
That makes
Well,
sense.
I love your
Thank
trees.
you.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've done some
Yeah.
great. So what's the
I can't
difference
wait.
between the ones that are wrapped and the ones that aren't wrapped? What's the difference?
Where are the ones that aren't wrapped?
Well, like this white, the polybond.
Those are flowering, so we had to protect them from frost.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so we have the agribon on them for the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that wonderful material?
Oh, it's so good.
Agribon, that's such
So good.
an
We use it in
amazing
the garden all the time.
material. Yeah.
If you heard Joel right, you understand. To feed hay in this hay bomb, we're going to go on that road above it.
Yeah.
And you just have to throw
And
the
you
hay
just throw-
down.
throw it down.
And some
That's
of it
right.
you're going to have to walk down to get
Yeah.
in different places.
Yeah. You end up driving a little more, but
Yep.
then you never destroy
Yep.
the pasture.
And it would be better to I've been trying to protect this to let it come up,
Yep.
but really it would be better to
Yeah.
just drive this.
If you're
'cause
going
we're
to
not
destroy
create
something,
any damage.
if you're going to destroy something,
Yeah.
destroy this.
All right. He's been telling me
He
this.
wouldn't let
He
us
said,
drive on these
I
roads.
know, I'm wrong. And you were right.
Say that again?
You want to get it on tape? Make sure
Oh,
you got
man, this is so
I was
funny.
wrong.
Yeah,
and you were right.
Yeah, you and Jonah
He's the
are
top.
where Daniel and I were about, 25 years ago. And it takes
Yeah.
it takes a little bit to get that figured out.
Because if people didn't hear that, I was trying to let this grass come up. And let it get established. And Jonah was saying, "No, let's drive on it."
Yeah.
And I'm saying, "Well, let's get it established." But then that meant the boys were driving through the already established
That's
pasture
right.
up and down.
Yeah.
And you're saying
that's-
it would have been
no.
better to mess up something
right.
on contour.
That's right.
Which
That's
makes
right.
total sense because
Much-
it's not going to wash away.
That's right. That's right. Did you do this with a track loader or a bulldozer?
A bulldozer.
Bulldozer, just a blade, and he just.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it fun to
He
watch
did
them
it
work?
in a day.
Yeah, isn't that fat?
1,500
I always tell people
feet
they're
of
so
road.
scared. They're so scared of that kind of equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, man, no. Those guys can do so much work in a day. You just stand in awe. You
I know, right?
And those good operators, they can about pick lint out of your belly button with
I
those
know.
machines,
He's
man.
so
I mean,
good.
they can just, yeah. I mean, we every year we try to set aside, a few $1,000s for some excavation work, build
That's
a pond,
good.
do something, and man, it's the best money you ever
It's
ever
like
spend.
a chainsaw,
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is.
efficient.
It completely changes your thing, and it's not. Yeah, it does mess things up for a little bit, but
It does.
then look what you.
And he's freaking out about how it's messed up. But I'm like, dude, your child will never know. Your child will come out here barefoot and enjoy this
That's
road.
right.
Like,
This will be the new normal.
Not even your child. You in just a couple of years, you won't.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's amazing
couple of
how fast the new look becomes normal.
Yeah.
I mean, all my life, we've done this stuff. You rip out the trees. You tear up things, and oh my! And in 2 years, you can't even remember that there was that tree there, or that hill there, or that rock there, or whatever it was.
You won't remember what it looks like. We should go up here.
Okay, so this tea, you can get a tea where this one right here is 3/4 inch NIPA or whatever it is, NIP.
Okay. And then that's like you're talking about threads.
Yeah, that female threads, and then you get your little adapter, and then you put your put your little garden.
Yeah, I know how to get those tees.
Thing on the end.
And then these didn't work out for whatever it's worth, because they just don't hold, and it ends up leaking.
Really? Huh.
And then when you want to go to get it off,
yeah,
you got to break it. If you want to put it on, and this is already on there, you can't.
Oh,
So you have
yeah,
to
like a
run it
pipe
through
clamp.
like
a pipe clamp, you could actually open it up. Open it up, put it on.
And sometimes, for whatever reason, you need to open it up.
Yeah.
Put it on.
Yeah.
So
well, that makes me feel good, because I've had people tell me, you're just wasting money, whatever.
Yeah. So we just cleared this.
Wow. I mean, yeah, this is there.
But we do have we have a Mini X.
We have a Mini X.
That helped.
Did you rent that, or?
No, we bought it.
You bought it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I got to get into this YouTubing business, man. Man, what a machine!
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It pays for itself about
oh
every
yeah,
day.
yeah. That's the thing, Don't be scared of. But then, are you going to keep it, or do you think you'll ever sell it?
Oh, we're keeping that thing.
They're going to start it. They're thinking about starting a grading business.
Yes, absolutely. That was going to be my next thing. And if you're going to
scale homestead and
if you're
grading
going to do
business.
it, keep it busy.
Well, that was part of it. It's like,
Yeah. Well, when
we're
we
gonna
bought
get
the
this.
sawmill, for years and years, I was the only one that ran it, and we only ran that thing, I don't know, 30 days a year, maybe, if that. Now I've trained 4 people on the sawmill, and it runs not every day, and we're milling for neighbors.
There you go.
We're selling lumber. We're doing stuff, and
It's long paid for itself.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you're going to have a machine, use it.
Yeah.
Put hours on it.
Yeah.
Alan Nation used to say, nobody can justify owning a tractor unless you put 1,000 hours a year on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's
And
the
yeah,
same
you
thing
can't
as that.
necessarily justify that on a
Yeah, if you
homestead
can-
at
if you
this
can, if
scale,
you
but
can get-
if they want to start a little business,
Yeah, if you
when
can
they
charge
have their
$150 an
license,
hour for that
that's what we're
work.
thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well,
there's
this
a
has to
need.
be covered up here pretty quick.
I know. I'm on
What,
it.
what if you just went and got a bunch of round bales and
That's what I'm trying to do.
and just unroll them on here?
That's what I'm trying to do.
This is pretty vulnerable. You've done really good getting stuff in the bottoms though to get all that
So it's
protected.
better. It would have been better had I should have had the hay here, because I'm having a hard time.
Oh, having a hard time
Getting
finding it
some,
now?
yeah.
Yeah, this is the wrong
The
time.
few guys
because
I know
everybody's fed them out.
Everybody's out.
Yeah.
So I need to have it on hand,
Yep.
and then just get it down, just have some cover, and then run the cows through it, and if there's anything they want to eat,
Yeah.
they can. And you talk about putting them out on different spots every year, but right now our bottom is growing better than our top, down the lower pastures.
Yeah.
So how do you, instead of repeating ourselves like we normally do,
Well-
start them in the bottom where the grass is more lush?
Yeah, well, no, I think you probably would start them in the bottom every
Just in a
year.
different
but
spot.
just start one in one year and one in the other.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
flip your ends. Flip
Okay.
your ends. Yeah.
So instead we normally start way down there towards that white fence. Instead of starting down there,
Instead,
we need to come
start up here
over
at this end, go that direction,
Okay.
and then come back. Yeah.
And why
yeah.
is that so important?
It's so important because the different forages, and when I say forage, I'm being very comprehensive. herbs, forbs, grasses, legumes, all the different forages have a different growth cycle. In other words, they don't come based on the calendar. Oh, it's it's April 5th, it's time to grow. Okay, they grow based on sometimes we have cold springs, warm springs, dry springs, wet springs, and all plants respond differently to all those conditions. Okay, so what happens is from year to year, the season will favor one thing or another. Just like you don't say arbitrarily we're going to start grazing on March the 30th. You kind of, some years you can and some years you can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last spring at our place we were grazing February 25th. February was incredibly warm, and we turned out one group of, not all of them, but a group of, I don't know what, 80 cows on February 25th. And that was the earliest we've ever started grazing.
Wow.
Now we didn't have enough grass for all of them, but we had enough for those were first calf heifers. We wanted to favor the first calf heifers, give them plenty. All right, and then other years we haven't had enough grass to graze until April 1st.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the plants are not growing based on the calendar; they're growing based on their perception of. So if you start in the same paddock every year, what's going to happen is you're going to move toward a monoculture because you're going to be hitting the same plants at their same physiological growth rate every single year. And so if you rotate it, then
I see.
This year, well, these plants get to grow longer and make some seed before I get there. And so you're diversifying your grazing to stimulate the diversification and the expression of different kinds of plants from your. So you have this real, rapid kind of daily rotation, but then you have this long annual rotation, where one year you come up here on the high ground and circle back down there, and another year you come up on the low ground and you circle on around the high.
What we could do, we're silvopasturing, so I've done it in the past too, where I bring in the pigs first.
Yeah.
So they kind of help bring up some grass seed.
Yeah.
And do a little underbrushing so we can actually get in there with a chainsaw. Well, if we did smaller batches like that, then it's not this whole 2-acre swath.
Yeah. That's a pretty big.
And then we're kind of just.
That's a pretty big.
We're just kind of covering a little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's a pretty big swath
there. That might be the way we.
But we've found that for us, 2 acres is our max.
Yeah.
In a winter, and we've got a lot of cows, but we've just found we just can't. It's not worth opening up more than you can metabolize.
I see.
You just stay gentle on what you can throw it down there.
I used to throw it in the trash, but there we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too. I was picking them up.
Yeah, so we've got like along the road where you've got a little washout or something, or anywhere in the edge of a field or something.
Yeah.
We'll just take a barrel of twine and just dump it right in there, and then immediately you've got this wonderful silt terrace.
Yeah.
Right above it, and it's there for good.
Well, when you clear that,
when do these things blossom? I bet that's gorgeous.
They never do.
These
never do.
They're
these are
weeds.
rhododendron.
These are weeds.
Well, no, they're not weeds.
They're weeds of the forest. That's what.
Oh, is that what Ian calls them?
Yeah.
They're rhododendron. The
Rhododendrons.
mountain laurel, which looks a lot, this will blossom.
Yeah. That's all we have is mountain laurel because we don't
Okay.
get enough rain for rhododendron. Now, right here, let me tell you about this road. So what you're getting here is you're getting a worn down path.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is where your water bar comes in.
Okay.
You can see the erosion. See where the water's running in this in this gutter?
Yep.
So what you do is, now that you've got that tool down there, you could easily.
Yeah, we have no excuse now.
No excuse now. So what you do is you come in here, and on a 45, here's a nice long thing I can lay down.
And don't pay attention to this one because this is your job.
Yeah.
You never drive that thing.
So
Funny if you did.
yeah. Well, listen, we've got our 2 big tractors we have now. I've never even started them.
I don't
Never even
want to.
driven them.
I let him do it all.
Yeah, I like the little ones. I like the little ones. Man, those
Yeah.
big ones scare me. So the water's coming from that crest right there down here. So what kills a road
Okay.
is volume and velocity. Volume and velocity. Either one alone won't kill a road. In other words, if you have velocity but there's no volume, it's no big deal. And if you have volume but no velocity, it's no big deal. That's where Darren Doherty and Regenerative, if you have a 1% grade, 1 foot in 100 feet, the water goes about as fast as you walk, and it won't erode anything.
Okay.
When it goes faster than that, and it doesn't take long for it to speed up. So right here, see, this is all move. Okay, what you do is at a 45-degree angle. So you see you've got a little hump right here, okay? So right in here, I'm gonna lay this about where you want it. On a 45-degree angle, and the reason for the 45 is so the water never stops. If you make the water bar perpendicular to the road, and a water bar is nothing more than a little berm.
Yeah.
Looks like a speed bump.
And he digs it from here and just puts it right here, right?
Yes. Or I would go from the bank.
Oh, okay.
I would go from the bank. I'd dig into the bank right there and get your fill.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to dig from behind because then you're going to have this.
All right.
Okay. So go into the bank a little bit, get a little bit of fill, and just make a 12-inch speed bump looking thing. If you make it perpendicular, the water comes down, hits it, puddles up, and leaves a puddle. If you put it on an angle, the water never stops. So all the leaves and twigs flush out. And your maintenance will drop by 90% by putting it on an angle.
And here he needs to kick this out so it has somewhere to go,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And
So
then we're going to just drop it into the field.
Yeah, and so this is where, so you make a little trough here, okay, for it to run on the uphill side. Then you bring up some of your baler twine and you throw it right in there.
That's another reason for the water line being on the upper side.
Yeah, on the upper side. That's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right.
Not only to see if it's leaking, but to if you need to make a
I would put this water line on the upper side, and then everything
What
leaks.
about when the hose runs across? What to do and drive over it?
All you're going to be putting across it is just like for feeding these paddocks here, you're going to just use a garden hose, and you're going to have a buried, maybe under one of these water bars, over to get a T on the other side on one of these centers that runs down to your next road. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So all of your hose can be on the upper side, and when they're wherever you're needing your water, you just run your hose across the road and you run over it. That's not a big deal. Garden hose.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking.
That's right.
I would put one right there, and as it gets steeper here, so the beauty of that is now the water has to restart.
Yeah.
From there down. The steeper the road,
you're right.
the closer you have to put your water bars. So I would come down.
Probably about right here.
Yeah. So let's look at the undulation of the road. So right past Jonah, it kind of goes down a little bit. See how it kind of shelves right where Jonah's standing, and then it goes down a little faster.
Yeah.
So I would come right in here, grab this shelf. Grab this shelf right in here. Okay.
Okay.
Another one right there.
And then another one at the bottom.
And then another one at that next shelf.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
You seeing it, Jonah?
Yep.
So that when you can do it
Because this is just continuing to wash, and this will just wash and wash until it's a creek. Another one right in here. Well,
and you sort of have a.
You don't want to run it out right at the tree. You want to leave yourself a place. So yeah.
Further back.
And another one there. Or is
here. Now this is called a broad-based dip. Okay.
Yeah.
So the two things are a water bar.
Okay.
And a broad-based dip. So this is a broad-based dip, and all this needs is to be opened on this side to give it an out. So that just needs to be.
Yeah. And
that
that's
just
what we
needs
got
to be
do
open to give it an out.
Pond here we've always had.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
We've always had a puddle up here.
Yep. Yeah, man, water and roads are, yeah, you can't have water on a road. So this one, you've got an out over here.
Yeah.
So here you just kind of
graze.
Yeah, scrape this down a little bit, and
Can you some of the filter
grade?
make this road more?
He was wondering if you should make it lean like that.
All right. So that's another big discussion, is inslope, outslope.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is where you fight with excavators.
Yeah.
You will not get any excavator in here that wants to do an outsloped road. They all learned in excavation school to do an insloped road. So here's the bank. So you inslope the road so the water runs on the uphill side and then goes out of a culvert somewhere.
Yeah.
Very expensive. The reason they do it in the highway department is because if you didn't inslope it and you were going around a turn at 55 miles an hour, you'd feel like you were flinging off the edge of the road, okay? So they inslope it like a racetrack to keep you from going crazy, okay? We're not driving 55 miles an hour on this road, okay?
Maybe.
What we want to do is outslope, which is what you see right up there. What that does is drain the water off. And I want you to notice something. Right there, notice there's no berm on the right side like here.
Yeah.
So right there, the water is running off the road straight down the hill. Here, it's running down the road and gouging the road down over time and creating this berm on the other side. So in a perfect world, you would regrade this road to outslope it all the way up. You'd pull that berm back in and use that fill to create a bit of it doesn't have to be much, very little, but that helps, that outslope gets the water off very, very quickly.
And get some of this.
That'd be hard with all those trees there.
It would be. I mean, it's hard now. It's hard now. But if you went along and were able to pull that berm back, just that berm, because that berm's right now like a river edge.
Yeah.
It's keeping everything from going. So
I've always wondered what we could do about that.
Yeah, well, what you do about it is you outslope it, and so there's fill here. You can gouge in here and get some fill, and but obviously once it's deteriorated, remediation, if it were put in right in the first place, you wouldn't have ever had this berm on the right. It would have been fine.
Which those logging guys, they aren't thinking about.
No.
They're just getting up the mountain.
They've all been to excavation school, and it's all inslope, and they're thinking inslope because that's what the best management practice, the BMP, at the forestry thing, that's what it all says. Is BMP. But this is what you want.
Now on my pathways though, I did inslope because I wanted the swell effect.
Yes. But there you wanted swales.
Yeah.
And so you're on contour. Here you're not on contour.
Right. Oh, you're right. Yes.
See?
Yes, that's the difference.
So that's what changes
Okay.
it. That's
All
what
right.
changes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a road proper.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But mainly here you're not on contour.
Would you worry about graveling this one day, or you're happy with dirt road?
This kind of stuff here drives you crazy.
Yeah.
It's bumpy.
Yeah. So, you can either gravel it.
One day gravel it.
Or you can call in your bulldozer guy, your blade, and he'll gouge in here a little bit, and you'd be surprised what just 3 inches of fresh dirt over here, a little bit of fill can do. Up to you. It all depends on how much you run. We've certainly put a small fortune in gravel. But there's nothing like gravel, to stabilize and make it nice to go. Put a water bar right here, knock this off.
Yeah.
And that'll fundamentally change, because right now that water's coming down this inside gutter, running right down here.
Basically, we have a canal for.
You have a canal.
Water. It's going all the way down, and you can.
Yep, going all the way down. Yeah, and it gets worse.
But he can fix this in like 2 hours. He can probably do all that in 2 hours.
Yeah. So the mini is Jonah's machine.
Oh yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Cool. That's great.
Well, we've been out putzing around on the farm, looking around at this place. How do you think you've come up with a course. You've partnered with Gabe, and I've seen some of it, and you put together a really nice thing, and you already have some in it. But just tell us what you might want to tell us about it. How about how it might benefit homesteaders, small-scale farmers?
Sure. So, unlike you, I'm not a video guy.
Yeah.
I'm a book English major. You know, I'm all about the written word, verb, you know, all that. But I'm very cognizant that we are becoming a video society.
Yeah.
And you know, picture's worth 1,000 words. Video can do things that others can't. And so when Gabe McCauley and Little Dragon came to us, you know, they have this crew and they do beautiful, beautiful video work, a lot of historical type stuff and different things. And they're all the guys on the crew are homesteaders. You know, they got their little 4, 5, 6, 10 acre places, and they had become fans. And so they approached me about doing a video course. But I think one of the things that I bring to this movement is homesteading. And I don't want to talk down to anybody, but homesteading as a stepping stone to commercial farming. What I've found when I have a group of 300 or 400 or 500 homesteaders in a conference, and I ask how many of you, if you could actually figure out how to make a living on your acreage, would leave your town job, and half the hands go up.
Okay.
So I know there's this latent seed, you know, inside of a lot of people wanting to germinate. And there's a lot of homestead content out there. I mean, yours is as good as any of it comes. And obviously the response to Abundance Plus has been indicative of the quality of your material. But I think that what I bring to this movement is, okay, I'm all about homesteading. But for those who want to take this another step, and actually start selling things, make a brand, do this commercially full time. That's kind of what we did. Our family was a glorified homestead for our first 15 years. You know, it was not a business. It was not a going. Dad was an accountant. Mom was a school teacher. Those jobs paid for the farm. You know how that goes. But we had a big garden. We milked a couple cows. We made all our own cheese and ice cream and butter and I had my flock of chickens and we raised a couple pigs and it was basically a glorified homestead. It was not a going concern. And when I came back to the farm full time in September 24, 1982, my grandfather wanted to farm, never did. Dad wanted to farm full time and didn't get it done. And so here we were, 3 generations in, and I'm wanting to do this full time. And fortunately, I stood on the shoulders of greatness, and I had, a lot of experience and experiments and things on behind me, and we were able to pull it off. And so now the idea is, what is all that, now half a century of experience can I convey so that somebody else, instead of taking, in our case, 2 generations to build a platform that we could germinate on, how can somebody do this down in 3 or 4 years, 5 years, and actually do this? And so, my handle is the Lunatic Farmer. And so we decided to call this Farm Like a Lunatic to stay with the brand. But it's Farm Like a Lunatic, not Homestead Like a Lunatic. And so I've been very strategic about the theme of the curriculum, that this is for the next step. You want to commercialize this. You want to monetize where you're going with this homesteading farming thing. Let's do it. And so all that we do can be scaled down. I mean, that's one of the beauties of it. But it can also be scaled up to some serious stuff. And so, our farm now, we run 800 hogs a year, 4,000 laying hens, 20,000 broilers, 1,000 head of cattle. This is not a backyard, and we have about 22 people earning a full-time living from the farm. So this is. I have lived my life in both of these worlds, and so I think I can speak appreciatively of the fears and the hurdles of somebody wanting to do it, while also inspiring the potential.
Yeah.
For that same person to say, no, you really can do it. And now that we've been doing for 30 years almost now our apprenticeship program, we have watched our young people, and so my wealth of experience on how do you start, you're a young person, no money, no land, and how do you start full-time farming? And now we have a handful of these young people who are now full-time farming and didn't have any land, didn't have any money. And so we're bringing that level of experience to people.
Yeah.
So the course is now, we've been filming now for, 3 years. We've got 26 hours of content. My goal is 100. I feel like when we get to I don't know anything about this medium, but the guy said that if we get to 100 hours, we've basically got a university course. We've got something that can really go. And so we're at a little over 26 hours. We're filming again next month. We're trying to do 1 or 2 courses a year. The courses run somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. They're divided into somewhere between 16 and 22 or 23 segments. So right now we've done six courses and about something over 120 segments. The segments are all anywhere between about 11 and 16 minutes. We're trying to keep all the segments 11 and 16 minutes. And so the 6 segments right now are, the first one was how do you start? And there's a lot in there about leasing, about getting access to land, collaborations, partnerships. How do you build a collaboration? Because as you know, land prices have just gone through the roof, and it's really expensive to have land. So, I'm all about having a hub. Yeah, you can have a hub, and as I have formulated all this, I've realized, even as at the scale where we are right now, we could actually do all the production, the farming that we're doing now on a hub less than 10 acres. And we lease some 1,200, 1,400 acres in the community. And so there's the whole, how do you get into this? How do you start this? And it includes, what kind of housing, what kind of nest egg do you need? I'm a big believer that if you want to do this, do it, but don't destroy your marriage or your family. You've got to be on the same page with your spouse, and especially if you come to it with teenage kids, you can't just destroy everything. There is a cycle of life. I think that you have a really high risk if you come to it after 50, because you simply you don't have the physical stamina that you did at 20. So I encourage people that are over 50 to find a young partner and leverage your life experience on youthful enthusiasm. And that's the way people built wealth, for a long time. But all those elements are in that kind of that first course. Then we have a course on laying chickens. How do you make money with eggs? There's everything from what breeds to choose, marketing, pricing, infrastructure, starting the chicks, all those kinds of things. The whole idea of and benchmarks to egg laying, like if you're having to wash more than 10% of your eggs, something's wrong with your management, with your nest boxes and all this. We deal with, egg. What do you do with an egg eater? How do you have clean eggs? How do you have hard shells? How do you, all these kinds of things that are issues in an egg laying operation. Because at our peak right now, we get about 200 dozen eggs a day. So, and think about this, 200 dozen eggs a day, if you're selling them for $6 a dozen, that's $1,200. Now, that's not net, but $1,200 a day, that's a serious deal. That's not just backyarding stuff. And then we have a course on broiler chickens, which, as you know, is dear to my heart because that was essentially our ticket in. That really paid the bills. Lots of reasons. Broiler chickens, Muslims and Jews eat them, so you don't have religious issues with chicken. America's eating chicken, a lot of chicken. It's a fast turnaround, 8 weeks. You buy the chick, 8 weeks, you have a harvest. I mean, that's not quite as fast as a radish, but almost. Cash flow. Most businesses actually fail, not because they don't have a good product or a good service, but because of cash flow. Bills are coming in faster than you can, generate the income in time to pay those bills. And so, of course, we've got a whole segment there on butchering and processing, and you have all the tension too now between Cornish cross and heritage breeds and all that sort of thing. So we discuss.
Okay.
These are all things that if you're coming to this without much experience, they can become paralyzing discussions.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I going to do? and so, you can disagree with me. That's fine. But I'm just going to tell you, where I am on these things and what we think and what we're doing.
Is the broiler still your favorite for somebody just starting out?
Absolutely.
One thing?
No question. Yep. It's child friendly.
Yeah.
Cash flow.
Everybody
easy to
eats it.
sell.
Mm-hmm.
And chicken is the worst thing in the store. I mean, if you're looking for something to brand you as, oh, this is different, chicken. Yeah. The difference between the broth, the broth, the texture, the feel of it, the taste. The chicken industry is the most industrialized of all the meats, and so it's way out there. So then you got the broilers. Then we've got one. I was just really keen to capture one whole course is on the carbonaceous diaper, and Justin, in my discussions around with the people doing this, I have just found this to be an epiphany for so many people. And of course, our friends Sean and Beth Doherty that do a wonderful thing. I learned something from them the last time I heard them. I was able to catch a little bit of their presentation, and it was a thought I'd never had before, and that's why I want to share it. Was that even a homestead, and of course they're very much a homestead, very much a homestead scale. They said every homestead needs a source of fertility. Something for your garden and your little bit of pasture and whatever, around some fruit trees. Homesteads are starving, and people ask me all the time, I got this homestead, but where do I get compost? Where do I get this stuff? And they use their pigs. Now they only raise like 6 a year. Yeah. And of course they use their pigs to use whey from their cheese making and junk. The pigs are for them. The pigs are basically a salvage operation. But unlike us, where we're raising hundreds of pigs, they don't let them run out in the field in the woods. They have them in a pen. Yep. But it's got a carbonaceous diaper. All right. Lots of carbon, wood chips, hay, straw, junk hay they can throw in there, and it doesn't smell. Right. The pigs make a toilet area, which they continue to bed every few days, to keep that up. But the pigs then they till and they root and they turn stuff around, and the point is that those 6 pigs literally generate the compost for their 2 acres of gardening and orchard and stuff. And because it gives you a concentrated, a pile of compost that you can use from. And I had never thought of that. It was just one of these, aha moments for me as they said this. Because I know that even at the smallest scale, people are starved for compost.
Yeah.
You never have enough. And so this idea of pinning the pigs, and so we have the carbonaceous diaper becomes a real thing for your fertility program, for the animal, because there are times in the year when you don't want the animals out in the field.
Right.
It's too wet. Maybe there you've got obviously if you're up north, it's not very comfortable, and there are obviously chick brooding. That's hard to do out on a pasture. Okay, you need to have a protected place, and so the carbonaceous diaper. Where do you get carbon? How do you do it? And then of course that's linked up with a little bit of forestry. I haven't done the forestry course yet, but there's a little bit of forestry in the carbonaceous diaper because we see the woods, crooked trees, dead trees, junky trees, using the carbon in the woods as an inventory of carbon to then use with the animals, with the carbonaceous diaper. And of course, we use I don't know, I'm going to say probably something a little bit south of 30 tractor trailer loads worth of wood chips a year.
And you talk about that in your course, how to do this on a big scale too.
Yeah, how to do it on a big scale, including the pig aerating at the end to inject the corn in it and use pigs as an aerator, as a turner, because the reason farmers are intimidated of large-scale composting is a $25,000 compost turner, double handling. We got to pull it out, then we got to make windrows. And when you think of conventional large-scale composting, you think all this equipment and big windrows. We don't do any of that. We just let the animals do all that aerating and all that work. One handling, no equipment except a manure spreader and a front end loader, and you're in business. Okay. And so that can be a game changer for a lot of people. And so I really wanted to get that out and get that done. So that's done, and it's fantastic. When you see it, it's just the light bulbs go off. So then another one we've done is the pastured pig. How do we pasture these pigs? So now you've got, the thing about pigs is that they're the smartest of all the farm animals. But they also have they're the smartest, but they have the poorest eyesight. They don't see very well. If you had a nose that big, you might not need to see very well either. You can about, sniff your way, into life. And so the pigs actually are problematic because they're smart, which means they're thinking, but they don't see very well. So they are the hardest animal to build trust with. Because, I don't know, what's he trying to do? I can't see it very well. Cows, you open the electric fence, call them, they just come, they can see the wire, they trust you, they come through. Pig, I see him moving, but what's he doing? I'm not sure. And what's he got in mind? And you have, and so the pigs, the pastured pig becomes a control. A lot of it is a control issue. What kind of electric fence? How hot do you need it? How high do you need it? A cow tends to jump over an electric fence. A pig would rather go under an electric fence, all things being equal. Pigs don't jump. They go under stuff. And so it's these nuances. Just those kinds of things are game changers. If you really want to do this at a commercial scale, understanding how to mix pigs. So we've got a group of pigs, and we're trying to put together a group of 50. we got 25 from this farmer, 10 from this farmer, and 15 from this farmer. How do you put those pigs together so they don't fight? Because pigs are very social, territorial, bully, and so there's a whole segment on mixing, on how do you put pigs together so they don't kill each other, because they're omnivores. The mafia has pig farms for a reason, and all that. So moving them, controlling them, obviously feed, breed, all those kinds of discussions. And then the sixth course we've done is controlled grazing with cattle.
Yeah.
I've got cows. How do I manage this pasture in a way that makes it functional? So we've got a whole discussion on, the S curve of grass growth, how to figure cow days per acre, monitoring all that, what kind of fencing. Again, all these questions about grazing management, stockpiling, early spring, drought, stockpiling winter forage, all those kinds of things are in the beef one.
I would like to probably say that somebody taking that course and understanding all the things you just said, there's something very valuable about reading or consuming you in a way, because then they go out then with your mind and your thoughts, and they can get that in such a short amount of time that has taken you 50 years to accumulate. Yes. And then that's why you can go out into my pasture like you did earlier, and you're like, oh, here's the cover, here's where you put the fence, but folks can just consume that and do this themselves.
Yeah.
Think like you.
Yeah, we've got a whole course on, for example, how to build an access road, water bars, broad-based dips, how to build a pond on the downside and let the dam be a road over rather than a culvert situation, because access is such a big deal. And so with the video camera, you can actually go out and show the water bar, the debris field, that sort of thing, because washed out roads are a big deal and they're expensive to fix. Yeah. Once your road starts washing, it becomes really expensive to fix. And I've been on hundreds and hundreds of farms around the world, and boy, washed out farm roads are just everywhere. Yeah. And I mean, we had them when we came to our property in 1961. We had farm roads that had been put in the early our house was built in 1790, so those first initial logging roads were probably put in 1790. As they first started going around. And I mean, they had washed down. We had roads that were washed down, 5 feet from both edges. It was and so when the rain came, it was a river, and we ended up making water bars to remediate those. We ended up coming in there and having to build water bars that were, 8 feet tall. I mean, very gentle, big. We had to move a lot of dirt to get that thing stabilized, to get those things stabilized. So. These are all things that will make such a huge difference as you get started. And so I really want people. There are a lot of people, homesteaders, that never aspire to make a living with the farm. It's just, let's grow a big garden, let's maybe milk a cow or two, grow most of our own food, and I'll continue my IT work or my, whatever it is. Off-farm work, and because they like their work and whatever, okay, that's great. But for those who would love to quit that town commute and make a living on their farm, this is for them.
I like it.
And that's what it is. It's farm like a lunatic, and I just appreciate your interest in it and your kind of collaboration with us
I back it
to get that out.
I'm going to put the link down in the description and fully support it, and I've seen some of it. It's great. If somebody were to buy it now, this is probably the question everybody's hanging on to. If they were to buy it now, do they get the future classes?
Yes. Okay. If you buy it now, I'm pretty sure I'm on fair ground that you buy it now and all future stuff comes to you.
And so that's how I understand it too.
It's a little bit pricey.
Yeah.
In fact, when we first did it, I was almost embarrassed. You know, I'm a frugal guy, you know, and I was, oh, guy, you know, okay, you know, you talked me into doing this, and now, boy, I'm almost embarrassed. But now I understand.
Well.
that if you buy it, then all the future stuff comes to you.
But then if they spend this money and learn how to do it, they're gonna make that money back.
Yes.
It's
Listen.
This is different than just
Oh.
going on a fancy vacation. This
Oh.
is an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, you know, and I know that on a farm,
Yeah.
you can blow a lot of
Oh,
money
if
really
you-
quick, buying the wrong piece of
Yeah.
equipment, building the wrong kind of building, barn
Yeah.
thing. I mean, just the carbonaceous diaper thing. How many farm buildings can't accommodate deep bedding because the sill plate's too low, and you can't. Now you're up on the sill plates and the barn boards, and so you end up. So think about how that. So you've just built. You know, you've just spent $20,000 for a building that you now can't dovetail your fertility program in. That
It's going to save
this
people.
is the best investment. Sorry, you know, now I'm totally convinced. This is the best investment you can possibly make.
It's gonna.
Because you can make $1,000 mistakes just
Okay.
day after day on a farm.
Yeah, so you're not only going to learn how to save money, and you're going to save so much money knowing how to do this, then you're also going to learn how to bring in money. So the income aspect of it with the marketing program. Well, so thank you. It's time for our lunch, and
Thank you, Justin.
yeah, I encourage folks to check it out, and we'll move on and get our podcast this afternoon.
Huh. Boy, that's really cool.
It's crazy if you look at it bare-eyed, you just see the sun. You would never.
Yeah, you never
If you didn't know
realize
about
it.
this, you would be like, "Why is it dark out here?"
No, you can see it. Look at
He's
it.
freaking out.
Look at it. You can't.
It's getting colder too, isn't it?
I know, I feel chilled.
So you should see the pig board. So see that structure? That's a 10 by 12. There's a pig in that. And on these two ends, it's just cattle panel and tin. So when he's done, after you filled it up with your material,
Okay, you just
can
pick it up.
remove those, and then that's on skids. And you can get it
just
out of the
slide
way,
it-
and
slide
then you
it
can get
off.
in there and properly turn your compost to make it fine for the garden.
That's great.
So that'll be
Yeah,
good too.
yeah.
And that lean-to off of it, you can put it on any side to cover wood chips or to cover feed or whatever.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know, this is because of you. I don't know if I ever showed you.
Did you ever get to see that?
You remember coming here and we had 100 rats. Or
Yeah,
we had
yeah, all the
100
rats.
chicks die, rats.
Yeah, yeah.
Said you didn't need to make a
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a
Like a-
bulletproof.
like a cage
Yeah,
fight
man.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
This is
great.
a UFC
Yeah. Yep, that's
half-inch
bulletproof.
wire mesh everywhere,
Yep.
tent, storm
Good.
doors.
Yep, yep. Yep. That's
Two
what it
bays.
takes. Here we are.
Safe travels.
You too. Thank you, Justin.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
Wonderful
Thank
day.
you. Yeah.
Thank
sure.
you, Austin.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, man, another pocket full of notes, another session of farm changing, life changing tips. Joel has done so much for the progress of our farm, from just getting us started in a regenerative way to keeping us going. It's absolutely incredible. And then he's expanded into the personal and the health and the family. What a good day. How important that is to spend a day with a mentor. This is pure gold to fire this whole year, if not the next 100 years. So couldn't be more excited about today.